and gentlemen, let's go. Let's go. We ain't got no time to waste. Let's go. You are now listening to Jason Anderson, and you are in the zone.
You're in the zone with Jason Anderson on Sports Radio 810 WHB.
Out of the pistol this time. And he's going to throw him. Henry's going to throw it, and it's Austin Hooper for the touchdown.
Felt great, man. I got 2 of them now, so 3. That's 3? I thought it was 2. Man. I call myself the young Peyton Manning, so it felt good. Man.
You're in the zone on Sports Radio 810 WHB.
Yeah.
All right, a Friday edition of The Zone right here on Sports Radio 810 WHB. Jason Anderson with you. Beards, we head up until 2 o'clock. The next 4 hours, we've got you. Talking some football today. A lot of football we will get into today. We'll hang out with Matt Derrick in the 11 o'clock hour, Chiefs Digest. We'll talk with him about the Chiefs, obviously, and the Chargers coming up this week and some other things that he is seeing from this team. They are heading into the final stretch of the season where jockeying for position will be taking place for the playoffs, the 1 seed, 2, 3, 4, on down to 7, winning the division, all of that stuff, and the implications of this weekend, and certainly Chiefs and Chargers. We'll talk with Matt Derrick about those things, and a couple of Travis Kelce clips from the podcast that we didn't get to play yesterday. Also, clips from Dave Tobe, Eric Bieniemy, and others from the podium that we heard yesterday. We'll also hang out with Kendall Gammon. He is presented by Freeman Health System and Crown Automotive in Lawrence. We'll talk with him coming up in the noon hour. And, boy, there's a lot of stuff to talk to Kendall Gammon about. It's weird, like, as the weeks go by, like, each and every week, like, oh, we can talk to him about this specific thing. And, oh, hey, here's something else that's come up, and we can talk to him about that. Certainly special teams, the onside kick, punt returning, the different style of Kadarius Toney versus what Dave Tobe would like that to look like on punt returns. And then also somebody who was an offensive lineman and a long snapper. The quarterback sneak with Josh Allen and the Minnesota Vikings and that craziness that took place over the weekend. So we'll talk with Kendall Gammon about that coming up at noon. Mick Shaffer, KSHB 41 Sports Director, fresh off his debut in the leisure role. He will hang out with us today around 12:30 or so. We'll hear from Andy Reid in the Chiefs press conference, and we'll see who else we hear from today out there at Arrowhead and see who practiced today, who did not. MVS did return to practice yesterday in a limited capacity, dealing with the illness, but that is certainly good news because obviously it is progressing towards him playing. If he's limited yesterday, hopefully full participant today. But I think other than maybe some other injuries, if he's limited today, then, a chance to play on Sunday if it is just simply an illness and he continues to progress and get better. We'll see if Juju Smith-Schuster or Chris Lamons get out of the concussion protocol anytime soon if they play this weekend. I would not plan on that, which is why it's important and vital in Marquez Valdez-Scantling coming back and being able to play, because it just adds another veteran guy to that group. I mean, we talked about it this week that without MVS and Juju and Mecole Hardman, who's been placed on the IR, which we'll get into here in just a second, without those guys being around, you're looking at Justin Watson and Kadarius Toney and Sky Moore and Marcus Kemp and, a lot of, obviously Travis Kelce, but then a lot of Noah Gray and Jody Fortson. Maybe the running game against the Chargers, lackluster and suspect run defense, could be, go that route. So a lot of things that can go into it. I think MVS changes that a little bit because it gives you another player that has a relationship with Patrick Mahomes. Maybe not as consistent as we've seen, definitely with Kelce, but even Juju Smith-Schuster over the last 4 or 5 weeks. But when Juju was out of the game and without Mecole Hardman playing, that Marquez Valdez-Scantling then stepped up and made plays down the sideline with the one-handed catch, the touchdown. He stepped up when called upon, and having him out there, I think, would go a long way. So we'll hear from Andy Reid, and we'll see who else coming up at the podium in the 1 o'clock hour. And then Lee Sterling comes up later on this hour, hanging out with Todd Lebo from Paramount Sports. Lee Sterling, Todd, talk about the games coming up this weekend, getting you set for college football and the NFL, and again, a big week in the NFL for some games. There aren't many that are just massive. These have postseason division implications, because there are some games that are lopsided in terms of record, where like even the Bills-Browns is intriguing because they're moving it to Detroit, and it's intriguing because, the Browns are good enough to win some games. I think they're good enough to beat the Bills. I don't think they will. I think they could have in the snow. I don't think they will in a dome, when the Bills can do a lot of different things and the Browns are just simply, running the football, and then Jacoby Brissett whenever. But that's still a 3-6 team against a team that's 6-3, like the Bills. But there is one game, oddly enough, this weekend in the NFL that has sneaky postseason implications. I wonder how many people would know, because I didn't until last night. I wonder how many people would know, if the season ended today, who the 7 teams in the AFC playoffs would be. And would they be shocked to find out that all 4 AFC East teams would be in the playoffs right now, if the season ended today? The Chiefs, Ravens, and Titans would be the other 3. And I bring that up because Jets and Patriots play this weekend. New England's at home. They're 5-4. The Jets are 6-3. This is a game to where the Jets can sort of show that they're serious about an opportunity to win the division or be real contenders to make the playoffs. Because in their own division, they could finish 4th and make the playoffs, but odds are it's not going to end up being the way that it is right now, because there's a lot of in-division games that are going to be taking place, so on and so forth, just like this weekend. But it's one of the sort of sneaky games that it's like Jets, Patriots, and then in the NFC, Dallas and Minnesota is a big one. That's at 3:25. And, of course, the biggest one of the weekend is Chiefs and Chargers on Sunday Night Football. So we'll get the cuts as well today before the show is over. 913-912-4810 is the text line to join us. 913-912-4810. We'll get to the text line today. Also with Mick Shaffer, when he's in here, I do want to get into just a little bit of, it's been talked about. Yesterday during the Border Patrol, we discussed it a little bit, not nearly as much as we should have, but there was an hour press conference in the middle of the show, and then catching up with other stuff in sports or leisure. And then Soren weighed in on it yesterday with the comments of Dayton Moore. So we'll talk with Mick Shaffer a little bit about that later on. I'm not going to play, the 6-7 clips that are out there of Dayton Moore. I think there's one that's a real mistake by Dayton Moore that we'll play and just get Mick Shaffer's thoughts on, and just kind of curious as to, who he's fighting. Like, what's the fight that he is trying to win right now? Is it the immediate reaction of, like, the excitement around Kansas City and the Royals fan base for something new that he's kind of, just projecting? Revising history with that? Like, I don't know what the purpose of something like this is, unless you are trying to convince yourself, but it makes no sense. Like, it's the same thing as Tyreek Hill. Like, Tyreek gets traded. He wants, to be the highest paid receiver in the NFL. Good for you. You should want to be that. You're one of, if not the best receivers in the NFL. So, yeah, you should want to be the highest paid. Nobody begrudging that at all. And the Chiefs couldn't do it, so they trade, and hopefully it works out for both teams. And it has, or certainly hopefully it works out for the Chiefs. Doesn't really matter if it works out for the Dolphins, but maybe it works out for Tyreek Hill. He gets paid great. But then, like, the comments after that, and it needed to be said, had to be said, could have been said, probably shouldn't have been said, but whatever. Like, the comments after that and wavering back and forth, it's like, okay, what battle is he fighting? Because I'm still a fan of Tyreek Hill. He's the best receiver in Chiefs history. I don't understand some of the venom that goes his way when there's a trade, the guy wants to be paid, the Chiefs can't do it and fit it in within the salary cap, they make a move, everybody's happy, and then there's like this, venom about, well, screw that guy or screw it's life, it's reality. And Tyreek Hill, it's a salary capped league. There are decisions that have to be made. If Chris Jones wants to be the highest paid defensive tackle at the end of this year, is anybody going to say, you don't deserve it, Chris Jones? And I'm talking about, he's got one more year left, but I'm talking about if they want to extend his contract or if he goes and holds out. And the Chiefs have to make a decision. Do we pay him that money in the salary cap or do we trade him? I'm not going to begrudge Chris Jones for, wanting the most money because he is playing as the most dominant defensive tackle right now. So him wanting that absolutely makes sense, totally. The comments then after that from Tyreek don't make a whole lot of sense. Like, what are you fighting? Because the legacy is of someone, Jet Chip Wasp, that came into the league as a return specialist. He's a return specialist. Remember, Jalen Ramsey, return specialist, to being one of, if not the best receivers in the NFL. So that didn't make a whole lot of sense. And it's not just players that he's immature. He might be, it's just immaturity coming through. Well, maybe, I don't know. He's a grown-ass man, so maybe it's immaturity, maybe it's not. I don't know. But Dayton Moore then does the same thing. Like, I don't know what he's fighting. I'm not sure why he needs to weigh in on these things because all he's doing is hurting his legacy. There are players that as time passes, you gain a greater respect for them. GMs, coaches, all of that, as time passes. Alex Smith might be the best example of that. Alex Smith was a fine quarterback and did a whole lot in taking this Chiefs team, an organization, from a quarterback motley crew to being at least stable at that position. But people felt like not enough, not good enough, never going to get it done with him. Okay, he got you to this level, but it's the demand and it's the selfishness of fans in that, okay, you got this, but now I want more, right? So in 2 years, for example, and this is not like, I don't want somebody to take this as an insult. Like, I don't want a KU football fan to take this as an insult. It's not.
How dare!
I haven't even said it yet. But in 2 years, if Lance Leipold wins 6 games, if he wins 6 games next year and 6 games the year after that and 6 games the year after that, is there going to be a satisfaction 3 years from now of just being 6-6? Whereas last year you would have said, oh my God, just get close to a bowl. Like, just be competitive for a bowl. That's it. Great, he got there. And still there. But then now what's the next step? What's the next level? You want more. You demand more, which is perfectly fine. There's nothing wrong with demanding more. Because if KU fans only demanded getting to 6 wins and then stopped and it was good enough forever, then what's the motivation for Lance Leipold other than just being an incredible competitor? To, just rest on his laurels. We get to 6 wins. I get paid every year. This is great. But no, if there's a demand for more, KU basketball fans demanding for more means that Bill Self had better answer the call. If not, find somebody who will. Because not making the tournament or not making the Final Four for an extended period of time is not good enough at Kansas. And Alex Smith took this, this franchise from a quarterback, no names, to being stable, but still not good enough, needed better. He could have been really salty. He could have been really mad at what he did for the franchise and getting them to the playoffs. And then they go and they grab Patrick Mahomes. They trade up for Patrick Mahomes. And then he's supposed to then mentor the guy who replaces him. And all he did was go out and be a complete and total professional from everybody involved. That's certainly the story. And since then has been a complete and total professional about the organization, about Patrick Mahomes, about the Chiefs, and the love and appreciation of Alex Smith has grown. Alex Smith's legacy in this town right now is greater than it was at the beginning of 2018, when he was gone and Mahomes was now the starter. It's greater now. And I don't know, like, Tyreek in the middle of playing, maybe that's different. But Alex Smith still had years left. And he had been replaced multiple times. So he could be really bitter about it. But Dayton Moore, I don't understand. It makes no sense. Makes no sense whatsoever to go this route, revise history, and tell fans what they do and don't like. And I don't think it should change the fact that, the banner is up there and Dayton Moore was a really big part of that. But he also shouldn't be going out of his way to tell fans, everything we did was perfect because this is the way you wanted it. You liked the losing. You appreciated the losing. You appreciated the winning. But Royals fans, because then, you know what it is? You know what the bothersome part is? From somebody who, a lot of us around here who grew up, watching the Royals, going out to Kauffman Stadium, Royal Stadium at the time, hoping, praying that there would be a competitive team, loving 2003 like somehow it just was this dream that came to real life, is him speaking out of turn for Royals fans and saying, oh, no, there are places that demand you win, but every place is different. And in Kansas City, they enjoyed the lows and just the overall ups and downs. So 913-912-4810. 913-912-4810 is the text line. 913-912-4810. You know what? Let's just play that one. Let's play that one real quick because, people are wondering what clip. And again, this is where, man, when you listen to sports radio all day, you know that there are people in and out of cars and listening at different times. So did they hear it or not? Because I've heard the clip a lot. But you know what? Let's play it again. Just for those, it's the clip that's labeled that the fans enjoyed everything. He says, fans enjoyed the stuff. Losing, whatever. Here's the clip we're talking about, and I'll bring it up with Mick Shaffer as well, and we'll get into the Chiefs after this.
We all want to be consistent over 162 games. We all want consistency. We all strive for that. But, we always just tried to build it up and then go for it and put all the chips on the table and go for it. And we knew that's how we had to do it within Kansas City. Now, not every small market is the same, Rob. I mean, every community is different. And, I felt like we had a pulse on what the fans of Kansas City and what our fans could tolerate, what they appreciated, and what obviously they ultimately wanted. And that was a World Series championship. But the fans of Kansas City enjoy the ups and downs of the evolution of a minor league, of a major league player. They like to follow them, and they don't like to see a lot of change. And where people would say that you've got to be more transactional with your roster and move players, and we never really did that. We stayed committed to our core group, but our fans understood that and liked that and fell in love with them. Now, we had certain people in our fan base and probably on our ownership group that didn't like it. I mean, they wanted to be more transactional. That's okay.
Look, there's about 6 or 7 other clips that, people have played, and you can go and listen to the whole podcast if you want to, that talks about analytics and him being surprised he was fired, and he's probably the only one that was surprised he was fired. And then talking about, well, this ownership group came in and, they're new and learning how to do it, and I probably should have done this thing different, have been more patient or whatever it might be. But that to me is when they like things, being the same. They enjoyed, the progression of the minor leagues, and they enjoyed the ebbs and flows and the ups and downs of it. It's speaking out of turn. And when you're on a station in Boston or a podcast in Boston, and you say, no, Royals fans appreciate, the no change, right? They appreciate just, things staying the same. It makes it sound like, if you're in the East Coast, how does that sound to you? Kansas City? Oh, yeah, Cowtown. Yeah, just dirt roads, and they got a couple of professional teams, but, even the guy who was a GM for 16 years or whatever, he said that, they don't really want progress or anything. Like, they're happy with just things staying the same. It's speaking out of turn, and it becomes offensive. And to say that the Royals fans appreciated the minor leagues to the majors, they appreciated it because they had to. Dayton doesn't realize that he benefited from Royals fans having an appreciation of that because they lived in reality of baseball and knew that that's the way they had to do it. They weren't going to go out and have $90 million payroll, $200 million payroll, $250 million payroll. It wasn't going to happen. So they were going to have to build through the minors. They knew that. And Dayton is now using the acceptance of Royals fans with how baseball is built, with how baseball's CBA and finances are right now, and he's using that to excuse the issues he had along the way and not having enough winning teams and building enough consistent teams year in and year out to say, well, no, it was fine. We did it. I knew what the Royals, we had the pulse of what the fans could tolerate. And they appreciated the progression of minor league players, and you fall in love, and they wanted to, be more transactional. Fans, they didn't want to be more transactional. They wanted to, they wanted things to stay the same. Just give us fun players, We don't need to win like the Yankees and all that or anything. Just give us fun players, and we'll like them. We'll buy jerseys and we'll have fun and we'll go out there and we'll, sit in along one of the baselines and shirt sleeves and it'd be just like when you were children and the memories will be so thick you have to brush them away from your faces. It's great. It's the old beautiful game. It becomes offensive. And there are other things in there that I think can affect legacy. But that one, more than anything, bothered me the most out of all the clips because it's not true. Royals fans don't appreciate the year after year after year after year after losing. They don't appreciate it. But they have been conditioned to have patience because that's the only thing a good portion of Royals fans have known their entire life. Since 85, I was 5 years old when they won the World Series. It's been patience, 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 patience. It'll happen. Patience. Gotta build. Gotta start from the bottom. Patience. Investing in minor leagues. Patience. I mean, they damn near did a cover every night for Guns N' Roses. They understood it. But it's not something that it was longed for. And I appreciate a 100-loss season. You know why? Because those guys are going out there and they're just working hard. Ding, 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 ding. Just some backwoods people just watching old ball players playing ball. 100-loss seasons. We don't really care about anything being better. Just... Like I said, we'll talk Chiefs. 913-912-4810. We'll take a timeout. We'll come back. I do want to get into McCole Hardman on the IR. Obviously, it's the importance of Kadarius Toney. And then Eric Bieniemy said something yesterday that for the first time this week that we've heard post-game, Andy Reid talking about the running back position that actually made sense from the, okay, maybe it doesn't spell the end of Clyde Edwards-Helaire and the trend that's going in a certain direction is going to continue in that same direction. We'll get to that on the other side of the break as well. 913-912-4810. More Zone next.
Want to see more of The Zone? Watch the show live on the Sports Radio 810 WHB Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, and Twitch. The Zone with Jason Anderson.
I'm kind of feeling like Twitter has less of a bot problem and more of a butt problem.
Weekdays from 10 to 2 on Sports Radio 810 WHB.
All right, we continue right here on Sports Radio 810 WHB. Jason Anderson with you. Beards. We'll hear from Lee Sterling with Todd Lebo coming up in the next segment. Matt Derrick at 11 o'clock talking some Chiefs football. Kendall Gammon at noon. Looking forward to that conversation, as well as Matt Derrick's and Mick Shaffer, and then hearing from Andy Reid and Chiefs players out at Arrowhead Stadium. And, of course, ending with the cuts. 913-912-4810. 913-912-4810 is the text line to be a part of the show, part of the conversation. It's funny, I tweeted out last night because, Beards, everybody was talking about Twitter dying last night. Like, hey, if Twitter is going to die, then this is where you can see my work. If this is the last night of Twitter, check me out here. I'm going to be on Mastodon. I don't even know what that is. I just saw people talking about it.
It's the first I've heard of it.
See me at Instagram.
Wasn't that a dinosaur?
It was, right? So, I jokingly tweeted out and said, if Twitter dies, I'm going to start a radio show on Sports Radio 810, Monday through Friday, 10 to 2. So you can catch me there, and I'm going to ask Josh Briscoe and Beards if they want to do the show with me. And one of the Twitter replies said, it'd be cool if maybe you had a text line where people can be part of the show, part of the conversation.
Uh-huh. Yeah, we should get on that.
Said, we'll see. I just loved he said, part of the show, part of the conversation. 913-912-4810. Text line if you want to be part of the show, part of the conversation. Said, well, I will, I'll try to see if we can accomplish that. If we do, I'd really like the number to be 913-912-4810, but no promises.
That might be taken already.
No promises. Boy, what if somebody squatted on that if that was real? Like, I'm looking for this number. Glad that wasn't the case. So Mecole Hardman is placed on the IR. He will miss the next 4 weeks. I mean, I know this is going to be a surprise, but I'm not a doctor. But abdominal illness that's going to keep you out 6 weeks. Like if it's an abdominal injury, so like a hernia, you'd have to have, core surgery that we've seen before. But an abdominal illness, I have no idea. I don't know if that's better, worse, the same. The only minor surgery is one that you're not involved in, right? I'm not saying that he had surgery. I'm just saying that it's when I heard Andy Reid say, he's still out with an abdominal illness, and then they've, put him on the IR. It's just interesting from that standpoint. Practice is going to be going on today. We'll hear from Andy Reid after practice, and we'll see about the concussion protocol with Juju, the concussion protocol with Chris Lamons, but MVS returned to practice yesterday. But it does increase that importance of Kadarius Toney being on the team. And I love the, Seth Kaiser does a great job at Chief in the North newsletter, even when he comes on Sren Show too. But it's a fun conversation, and he does a great job with the breakdowns that he has. And the most recent one was about Prince Tega Wanogho playing right tackle. But the ones before that were about Kadarius Toney. Whether that's look at the Kadarius Toney tape from the New York Giants, but a couple days ago he broke down Kadarius Toney's game against the Jags, and just the things that he offers and brings to the table. And it gets me even more excited watching those clips and hearing what Seth has to say about the things that he can do and being the deep threat and how quick he is in gaining separation. And we know about the open field ability, that those were things that you were getting with Mecole Hardman. And without Mecole Hardman, they weren't going to have that on this team. There isn't a player on the team that was going to give the Chiefs what Mecole gave them. And I know for all of the talk and disappointment in Mecole Hardman's career, he's been of value to this Chiefs team, especially since Tyreek Hill was traded. He's had a good season, has Mecole Hardman. And it has, and fingers crossed that Kadarius Toney can stay healthy. Because the Chiefs have been able to survive and have somebody that gives them that same threat since moving on from Tyreek Hill. Mecole Hardman. McCole Hardman gets injured. You know what? They just traded for Kadarius Toney. So they've had somebody to continue to fill that role, which continues to make them more dynamic. Because he can also go over the top if need be. But it does increase the importance and the emphasis of what the Chiefs did, what Brett Veach did with Kadarius Toney. I want to play this clip from Eric Bieniemy. It's a short clip from yesterday. He talked a lot about Clyde Edwards-Helaire and the relationship between the running backs and Jerick McKinnon pass protection and Isaiah Pacheco post-fumble and all of that stuff. And we talked about what Andy Reid said, whether it was Monday or Wednesday, about, well, it was just the way that it was just bad luck or timing or whatever for Clyde Edwards-Helaire. The possession he was in for, the series he was in for, it was a 3-and-out. And boy, how often are there 3-and-outs? And he only got a couple of targets in those plays. But it wasn't anything we planned to not have Clyde Edwards-Helaire play more than 4 snaps. Just how the game went. We wanted to get Isaiah Pacheco in the flow of the game. Okay. And that was, to me, it's like, okay, you want to give him to the flow of the game, then you want to give him the possession. You want to give him the carries. Here's Eric Bieniemy. He was asked by Adam Teicher about just, communication between the coaches when a player like Clyde Edwards-Helaire is sitting on the sideline and not playing when he's been your number one running back for a couple of years. That communication between offensive coordinator to running back to whatever running backs coach about playing time with those guys.
Just like we talk about communication with the players and, there's communication with us as well. And the thing that we're always talking about is making sure that if somebody has a hot hand, let's ride with it. Let's just go with it. But there's always some communication that takes place.
It's that small part in the middle when he says there's always the communication of making sure if somebody has the hot hand, let's ride with them. If that person has the hot hand, let's go. And to me, that's Eric Bieniemy saying, the conversation that took place on the sideline on Sunday during that Jags game. Pacheco's running the ball well. Hey, we gonna, Greg, Clyde, do we need to put him in this series or, keep rolling with Isaiah and what he's been doing? Man, I say we stay with Isaiah right now. I mean, if he gets stopped a couple of times and maybe we switch it up with Clyde or Jet, but, let's stay with Isaiah here. So, that makes more sense than we wanted to get Pacheco in the flow of the game, but it wasn't a specific strategy of he's going to get 16 carries and Edwards-Helaire is going to get 0. Well, yeah, if you want to get him in the flow of the game, he's going to have to get the lion's share of the carries. Okay, he's going to have to then be the starter, not just in name only, but in production or at least quantity as well. But that being we're communicating. We're staying with the hot hand. And if Pacheco getting those carries, continuing into the second quarter and even the third quarter, if he starts to struggle, maybe he fumbles again, I don't know, gets stopped, isn't reading the holes when they come back over to the sideline and they look at the film and he's missing a hole here or there. All right, Clyde, your turn. Get in there. But clearly that wasn't happening in the game. And they were going with Pacheco and they felt good about him being the running back. And as a quick aside, I talked about Seth Kaiser and the Kadarius Toney thing, but the latest is him talking about Prince Tega-Wanogo playing right tackle and filling in for Andrew Wiley. And he was talking about a block that Prince made, the final play for the Chiefs, 3rd and 4, that was a first down, Pacheco 5-yard gain that iced the game. And he showed, Tega-Wanogo and the way that he sort of shielded the backside defensive end from getting there. Trey Smith had to reach to get to the nose tackle and did a fantastic job doing that. And he was looking at the offensive line. But what popped off the screen to me was Pacheco getting the ball, surveying, and then bursting. It wasn't just I'm getting the ball and running forward. It was bursting. And as he got to the line of scrimmage, the defensive end to his left with Orlando Brown and Tooney, he comes crashing down, and he hits Pacheco in the side. But Pacheco already has the momentum to see the hole that he picks up 5 yards. And people may be thinking the exact same thing I'm thinking right now. If Clyde has the ball and is a step slower because he doesn't have that burst, that defensive end doesn't hit Clyde on the side. That defensive end coming down hits Clyde at the line of scrimmage. and the Chiefs are punting. It might be something as small and simple as that. You have to have the patience to recognize when the hole is there, but you've got to have the burst to get there before it closes. And that play, while he was, breaking down the film on, the right tackle, the right tackle's man didn't, make the tackle, didn't, hit Pacheco, and it was a 5-yard gain. The thing that stood out to me, besides what he was talking about, was Pacheco seeing the hole and then bursting through, not just I'm going to run straight, that's what I'm going to do, gets the ball, surveys, and then fires through and gets there right before it closes and picks up 5 yards. We'll never know what that would have looked like with number 25 in the backfield. We'll never know. But I have a pretty good idea that he wouldn't have got there. Maybe he gets there, defensive end crashes down, he, skips out to the left, jump cut to his left and picks up 5 yards or whatever. Maybe that's the case. But on 3rd and 4, they needed 5. Pacheco got 5 because he got to the hole before it closed. And I don't know that Clyde does that. We take a timeout, we come back. We'll hear from Todd Lebo and Lee Sterling coming up next.
Follow the show on Twitter at J810Anderson, at JB Briscoe, at Beards McFly, and at Sports Radio 810.
who's going to win and by how much. You're about to find out from national sports handicapping champion Lee Sterling on The Zone. Log on to ParamountSports.com or call toll-free 800-400-9741 to get started.
It's a Red Friday on Sports Radio 810 WHB, and it's that time we get to talk to Lee Sterling from Paramount Sports each and every week to find out who's going to win and, more importantly, by how much, because we've really enjoyed legalized gambling in the state of Kansas this football season, Lee. And I know you've been enjoying this for years. November rolls on, but that's not all you've got for us this weekend.
No. Not normally when we have a 45 to 50 unit play, you must be a monthly or season subscriber. We're going to release it with a baker's dozen. 13 games combined Saturday and Sunday, just $97 with 3-1 on these 45 to 50 unit plays, and this year in 54 and 19 going back the last 12 years. So anyone wants to get involved, I found an underdog that I'm not talking about a 1, 2, or 3 point underdog. I'm talking about an underdog of more than a touchdown. I think wins the game outright.
That sounds awesome. ParamountSports.com, 1-800-400-9741. Get that baker's dozen. It's a great time to get involved because football is really coming. I know we're excited next week. We got Thanksgiving games, but we got a lot of stuff to get to this week as some college football races are coming down to the wire. One of those includes TCU as their sights on the Big 12 championship game and the college football playoff. They're a slight favorite on the road this week against Baylor.
Yeah, and here's the way that I see this game. Baylor is going to have to make some plays, and it's going to be really, really tough. I mean, Blake Shapen, their quarterback, no touchdown passes the last 2 weeks, just 1 in 3 weeks. Think about this. Texas, who was their special assistant this year? Gary Patterson. He knew every single player. He recruited every single player. He came up with a game plan, I heard, for offense and defense. And Texas, with more talent maybe than TCU, still couldn't win the game. TCU is going to lose, but not this week here. They continue winning 27-20.
Yeah, Baylor needs turnovers to win, and they didn't get that last week against K-State. They kind of won their last couple before that with a lot of turnovers. All right, so what's Texas going to do now? They're going to go on the road. They're playing a Kansas team who beat them in their place last year. That was kind of the springboard for the Jayhawks renaissance to get better as a program. This is Kansas' last home game. They're getting a lot of points at home. It's a night game. I mean, I don't think Kansas has enough to beat Texas, but can they cover 9.5?
It's going to be tough. I mean, Quinn Ewers, less than 50% completion percentage the last 4 games. I mean, he was on a roll. He obviously is not 100%. Something's going on here. And, I mean, this just looks like another one of these Texas teams just meandering through the schedule late in the season. And I don't think Kansas is going to be intimidated. They beat Texas in Austin last year, so they're not scared at all here. They've got weapons on offense here, and I think the play calling, Texas, has just not been good at all. So I'm going to take the points here. I think Texas might escape 37-34, but I'll take Kansas and be almost double digits.
All right, K-State is got real life now. They win their games. They're going to be in Dallas for their first Big 12 championship game since they brought the game back. And it looks like they're going to play TCU. They'll be purple. There'll be so much purple in the stands for that game you won't be able to stand it. But they've got a sneaky one this week on the road at West Virginia. West Virginia beat Oklahoma at home. They took Texas Tech down to the final minute, or TCU to the final minute at home, and they beat Baylor at home. I don't think they're nearly as talented as K-State, but they're getting a touchdown. What do you think about this one?
Well, here's the best part. Will Howard's playing for Kansas State. If you're a Wildcats fan, no more Adrian Martinez. Looks like the rest of the year he's the guy. I mean, he looks good every time you see him play, and throwing the football. I mean, just when the green light comes on, he's their guy. West Virginia. I mean, their coaching staff's got to be thinking we're in trouble. New AD. So when the AD that hired the coach is gone, the coach is going to be evaluated at the end of the season. I don't think the results are good enough. West Virginia allows over 34 points per game. And JT Daniels has thrown at least 1 interception in 5 straight games. He's just not the guy. I mean, his play is too much up and down. He's going to have trouble even getting any type of tryout, in my opinion, next year in the NFL. I like Kansas State 34-14.
It'd be a huge one for the Cats, to get them locked up to go down there to Dallas would be a lot of fun for them. All right, let's talk some NFL games. Buffalo is still over a touchdown favorite against the Browns, and the Bills had one of the most up-and-down roller coaster games I've ever seen in my life last week against the Vikings. They've had a few games similar to that where they kind of had something and they lost it, and they've come back and either won or lost. They got to straighten themselves out, though, because they're in third place in the East.
They are, and, I mean, there's been some crazy stuff. You watch that game, who's going to think Josh Allen is going to fumble on the half-yard line, number one, and then throw that interception? He's fumbled quite a bit also. So, uncharacteristically, he has not played up to the level that he normally plays at. And I just think, though, that this Cleveland team is just not well coached, and they are a team that really can only run the football. They have one good game. That's it. Played one good game the entire year. Monday night game at home against the Bengals. They're going to be going on the road here. They're 5-11 the last 16 games here, and I think Buffalo lets it all hang out here, 31-16.
Yeah, they need to get right to get themselves going for the stretch run. All right, so I don't think if you ask most people halfway through November that the Chiefs would be playing to get a 3-game lead in the AFC West. But that's what's going to happen on Sunday Night Football. They're going to be out in Los Angeles to face the Chargers team that's been disappointing in a division that's been disappointing with everyone besides the Chiefs. And the Chiefs have had some disappointment. For crying out loud, they lost to the Colts. But the Chiefs can really take control of this division with the win here. What do the Chargers have for the Chiefs on Sunday Night Football?
So the Chargers played well for like 3 quarters at San Francisco last week. And the problem was they just ran out of players on offense and defense here. And then also if you watch the game, Justin Herbert is really got it. I mean, he's up against it. He is throwing into some really tight windows without Mike Williams, Keenan Allen, and others. And Chargers 4-1 against the spread versus the Chiefs last 5 games, but the visitor 3-0 against the spread in the series. I love the pickup of Kadarius Toney. He's a guy that, next level players can make plays, can turn a 5-yard catch into a 50-yard touchdown, and Hardman's also coming into his own. Even with a couple turnovers last week, Casey had enough to win and cover. They're averaging 30 points per game. Blowout city finally. Kansas City 34-13 over the Chargers.
That'd be a good one for the Chiefs. Give them a little breathing room for sure. All right, Lee, what have you got for us this week? And I know your free play of the week is the Bedlam game. I'm glad you know something about it because I can't figure either one of those teams out.
Yeah, they want to get it for free. Just call 800-400-9741. We'll give them the game for free. 800-400-9741. The game is on me. And like I said, you want to get involved and get our Baker's Dozen. Our college football underdog play of the year, 45-unit best bet, is available. 13 games, just $97, one place, ParamountSports.com.
All right, Lee, good luck. We will talk to you on Chiefs Tailgate on Sunday morning.
Sounds good.
More Zone coming up next on Sports Radio 810 WHB.
You're in the zone on Sports Radio 810 WHB. The Zone with Jason Anderson.
Byron Pringle was born before you were.
Yeah.
And Byron Pringle was born when I was a junior in college. I just realized I could be your father. I mean, my social life would have had to have gone much, much better.
Weekdays from 10 to 2 on Sports Radio 810 WHB.
All right, we continue right here on Sports Radio 810 WHB. Jason Anderson with you. Beards, we had up until 2 o'clock. Matt Derrick, our guest here for the hour. We'll hang out with Kendall Gammon coming up at noon. We'll also talk with Mick Shaffer around 12:30 or so. Hear from Andy Reid and players as well. Text says, wait, you're not a doctor? I'm out. I didn't know if I didn't really want to say that, Beards. I didn't want to let people know. I've been living this lie and having this facade on the air for so long about my medical background. I didn't want to then give it away, but I felt like I needed to be forthright with the listeners and upfront. I needed to be honest and transparent. I am not a doctor. Is it odd that people go out of their way to make sure they preface before they give a take like that, now, I'm not a doctor? Because people probably know that I'm not a doctor. I think people would assume, listening to the show, that I am not a doctor. All right? I have a doctorate in BS. I've got a BS in BS. But talking about the illness in the abdominal illness from Nicole Hardman, just like, I mean, maybe a texture said maybe it's an appendicitis. It might be. I don't know. Believe me, it is complete and total 100% speculation to even wonder what it would be. But like abdominal injury versus abdominal illness certainly is different. But I just wanted to make sure that people know that I am not speaking as a doctor with any medical degree. 913-912-4810. Text says, but is James a doctor? Dr. James Anderson sounds legit. Could be. Text says, Hardman's abs are just too sick, I guess. Wish I had that problem. Yeah, that is true. Just too in shape. His abs, there were too many packs. His extra packs are ill. That's what happens when you've got like 8, 9, 10 pack. You know, me with nothing. I'm good. Good, man. Text says, I have a PhD. Yeah, I know what that is, player hater. Oh, it says a pretty huge dolphin. Okay, I didn't know. You never know what the PhD stands for. Player hater degree. All right, 913-912-4810 is the text line. 913-912-4810 is the text line. Text says, haven't heard any updates on Juju. Any chance he plays? I'd lean towards no. I would approach this as he's not playing and be surprised if he does. I do not expect him to play. He's not out of the concussion protocol yet. I doubt he's going to be out of it today. So I would just go ahead and count on Juju and Lamons not playing. And the wide receivers, Lamons not being a wide receiver, but the wide receivers without Juju being MVS and Kadarius Toney and Sky and Watson and probably Kemp. If Lamons is out, then Kemp is in. Then maybe Kemp as the receiver there. Matt Derrick, Chiefs Digest, joins us here in the show. Matt, is that a somewhat accurate assessment of that's what you would go with if Juju, assuming and probably counting on Juju not playing this weekend?
I would think so. I mean, there's a couple of variables. I mean, the fact that Andy Reid did mention Marcus Kemp, I think is a pretty good sign. The only tricky part is that he's been elevated twice, so after the third elevation, it's got to stick on the 53 or you put him on waivers. Hey, he's been available, so you would think that maybe he safely crosses waivers and you can keep him, but that's always a consideration. But that would be my expectation. I mean, we'll see what else happens, but I'm with you. And I think with Juju, we're probably asking the wrong question. I think probably the more appropriate question with Juju isn't how fast he can get back on the field, but how slow should you take it? I mean, to me, don't don't be thinking about it in terms about how fast this guy can get on the field after a hit like that. And what you saw on the field with Juju, give him all the time in the world to get back.
Yep, absolutely. I'm with you. Totally agree. So if those are the parts of the practice squad thing that I appreciate having you on the show for. And this is the third time, so he's got to stay on the 53-man roster. Cool. If McColl's on the IR for the next 4 weeks, then who would then fill in that spot? Wouldn't it just be Kemp then as the fifth wide receiver if McColl's on the IR? Or I guess Juju, MVS, Sky, Tony, never mind, and Watson. I was doing the math in my head. I'm like, oh yeah, Juju's out. That's why they need a fifth. You dumbass. So sorry about that. Yeah, there's my math
you
on
were
the
getting
air.
there. And then Frank Clark lost his exemption yesterday, so Frank Clark takes McCole Hardman's space.
There you go. That's right.
You don't have a spot on the 53 for Hardman.
Yeah, So I mean. That's interesting. But if he's been available, then you would expect he would clear waivers, right?
I would think so. I mean,
if he doesn't, it can't be some crazy huge loss because the Chiefs have him on the practice squad and not their 53-man roster.
Yeah, I mean, and Marcus was available already. I mean, he did have an injury that he was dealing with earlier, so that was a factor. He's healthy now. That's always possible. But when you look at the other, moves the Chiefs could make, because we were talking in the media room yesterday about, how before the Hardman move, about how the Chiefs were going to make room for Frank Clark, because it was like, who are you going to expose to waivers? I mean, there was a reason why you put guys like Jack Cochran and Najee Johnson on the 53. It was clearly because there was some concerns that some teams were poking around, and you might lose those guys. Ronald Jones. I mean, there's not a lot of names. I mean, and certainly with the offensive line injuries, there's nobody you want to risk losing there. So, to me, I mean, that's the tricky thing with the 53. You have to navigate right now.
Yeah. Matt Derrick is our guest. Tex says, does this impact at all the chances of Juju re-signing with the Chiefs? I mean, if he's out an extended period of time, it would lower the market value because it would be another year in which he missed multiple games. Like if he misses 4 weeks, I'm not saying he is, but if he were to miss the next 4 games, it would be yet another season in which he missed essentially at least a quarter of the season.
And I haven't looked at it to see what's still out there that he hasn't met, but remember too, there's going to be some incentives that he might miss now because of that could change even this year's cap value. But I don't think it would change that too much. I mean, I think concussions are one of those injuries that, to a degree, when you're evaluating a player's performance, you almost throw out. I mean, certainly it's part of a player's injury history and you're concerned, but that's not an injury that typically affects you going forward. I mean, I know there's some data out there about repetitive concussions and that can happen and everything, but it's not like a knee injury where, you're calculating, okay, there's going to be a percentage of the player's performance that's not there anymore. Mm-hmm. This is a case where it's just only going to be, if you look at the aggregate numbers, that it's a problem. You look at the per game numbers and Juju's going to have a really good season.
Yeah, he has the per game active bonus is $60,000 and only 5 of those are likely to be earned. So he's already surpassed, and he's already adding to the salary cap next year in the what's not likely to be earned that he's already earned. So that'll increase what that is next year. His catch incentives are he's already got the 40 receptions, which was $500,000. 50 receptions, he gets $1 million. 65 receptions, he gets $1.5 million. Now, those aren't cumulative that they stack on top of each other. It's just if you get to 65, now you get 1.5. You get one,
right.
So he's already earned at least $500,000 as an incentive. The yards incentive, he's already surpassed 500. So that's a $500,000 incentive. And then it goes $650 and $900 for the $1 million and $1.5. So if he misses an extended period of time, it could just mean like he could lose $500,000 in yards and $500,000 in the receptions. He could lose $1 million if he's out for an extended period of time, which might give him motivation to get back a little bit earlier and play. But he won't have a choice in the concussion. He doesn't have a choice in getting back earlier in concussion or not. And then he also has a playing time in which 45% of the playing time over the course of the season earns him $500,000. 65% earns him $1.5 million. So there are a lot of incentives that, can still be earned the rest of the way for Juju Smith-Schuster that, you're right, could affect the salary cap next year and all of that stuff. Also would affect how much somebody would pay him in free agency, because those numbers then become likely to be earned incentives, just as the active game bonus likely to be earned is only 5 because he played 5 games last year. If he catches 80 balls this year, likely to be earned incentive would start at 80. So
bingo.
So that then increases what the value will be for him next year too, which he knows as well. So and the Chiefs obviously know. So look, I'd like them to re-sign Juju Smith-Schuster. I just don't know that they will be in the market for him. ESPN put out their top 25 free agents, sort of an early look a couple days ago, and Juju was number 24, and he was the number 2 wide receiver behind Jacoby Myers at number 21. Number 2 was Orlando Brown. The number 2 free agent was Orlando Brown. Number 1, Lamar Jackson. Shocker. But Lamar Jackson, the number 1 free agent. Now, guys will be franchise tagged and all of that stuff, so who actually makes it to free agency, which means that Juju being the number 24 free agent would then go way up, because a lot of those guys in the top 10 would be franchised and all of that stuff, and who actually gets to free agency. But they have Juju as the number 2 wide receiver in the free agent market coming up next year. So,
and that playing time bonus might actually affect him, because right now he's at 70%.
Oh, wow.
So
okay.
If 65 is that top
so if he
end,
if he misses 4 weeks,
he probably get very easily knocked down from that incentive.
And I shouldn't say. I keep saying 4 weeks for some reason. I shouldn't. I'm doing the McCole Hardman IR, and I know they're not the same, but I'm just talking. But I would say at least I'm with you. I think the bigger question is, does he play next week against the Rams? That's the bigger question that I have.
And I mean, and if you want to look at how quickly he can get back, which I say is the wrong question to ask.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, hey, the fact that the Chiefs did not put him on IR,
absolutely,
is a good indication they think it's going to be less than 4 weeks.
Right, and so I don't know why I just kept going 4. I guess I was just going extreme.
It's a ballpark, yeah.
Like I was just going extreme. Like, okay, if he misses like 4 weeks, he could lose millions of dollars. Now, receptions, yards, playing time. He could lose $1, $2.5, almost $3 million in incentives.
But for people asking, why don't you have an extension done, or why aren't you working on one with Juju right now? Well, this is why teams don't do them in the middle of the season, typically.
And why Juju's agent might not want to do it, because if I hit all these incentives, I am now setting the baseline of what these likely and not likely to be earned incentives are next year, and how much somebody's going to pay for me. Yep. Also, I know I'm going to be one of the more coveted receivers out there. So, I mean, it's a weak year in free agent wide receivers to where if I'm Juju, I'm betting on myself. I'm Jerry Maguire.
That's why you sign a 1-year prove-it deal. You bet on yourself.
I'm Jerry Maguiring it, and you're going to go out there, you're going to have a career year, and then you're going to get paid. Okay?
I mean, I don't think the Chiefs would have any problem getting a deal done with Juju right now if they were willing to just say, hey, we'll give you 3 for 65.
I mean, right.
That might get it done.
Yeah,
but if you're Juju, wait.
Right.
There's no. But I mean, obviously, he's having fun here. I mean, he's obviously having fun on the offense. He's been comfortable. You've seen it. I mean, he's talked about it. See what happens after the season, and maybe.
Absolutely.
Hey, I'm not ruling out something does get done. I mean, and it's always possible. I mean, remember, she's got to deal with Damian Williams done in like late December, early January, an extension in his first year. So it can always happen.
It's not something I was planning on asking you, but now I'm just curious. If you're guessing right now, is Juju a Chief next year?
I think right now I would say better than even chance.
Really? Okay.
I do.
Okay.
I mean, especially when you look at the fact that, Kadarius Toney and Sky Moore are the only 2 receivers you've got. I think you would love to have some more continuity. Marquez is obviously signed up, but there's no guarantee that with that contract, the way it's structured, that he's going to be back next year. But Juju's he's been too good. And, I mean, if you can make it work financially, I think the Chiefs want to make it work.
Yeah, that's an interesting thing when you look at, like, MVS and Juju. So if they go into next year and say Valdez-Scantling's cap number is 11, but his dead cap is 4, so you can save 7. Do they look at it and say, here's the cap space we have, now let's add 7 by cutting MVS and give that to Juju? And now it's Juju, Toney, Sky Moore, bring back Watson, whatever. Maybe Justin Ross is healthy and you throw him into the mix. Maybe you draft somebody with your draft picks that you have, and that MVS was sort of like we talked about, it was a 1 year, and then you could get out of that from the next 2 years. You can get out of it after 22, after 23, and then obviously after 24 he's a free agent. But it was structured that way, and it feels like it's structured that way as in, well, we'll know what we have at MVS, and if we're getting what we want to get out of him for $11 million Also, the price of wide receivers market is skyrocketing, so 11 isn't the same as it was in years past. But for $11 million, or do we save 7 and just give that to Juju and then add $13 million and give him 20? If that's something that he would be looking at.
I mean, because Marquez's contract was structured in a really interesting way. I mean,
Yes.
it was a 3-year deal. It was literally a 1-year deal with 2-year options because the Chiefs could jettison. I mean,
But they gave him $9 million the first year, so it's like you might be done after 1 year, but here's at least $9 million this year.
And if you walked away, I mean, that's what it would turn out to be. I mean, it would be a 1-year, $13 million deal.
Yeah.
And that's not. I mean, right now the way that the free agent market's going, it's not a terrible deal. I mean, based on the production that you've gotten to this point, you would say it was a disappointing deal. Season's not over yet, though, so let's see what happens.
But based on trading Tyreek and then saying what's out there in the market, do we have to go out and maybe pay 13 for 1 year for somebody that we feel like? I mean, it's a little comparable to McCole. There was an unknown with Tyreek. So what do we have the option of bringing in if Tyreek doesn't play? McCole Hardman's here. We like him. This is what he can offer. Let's go get McCole. Even if we may be overpaying a second rounder for him, this is what we need in our offense if there's no Tyreek Hill. You trade Tyreek Hill, okay, what's out there? MVS is out there. Anybody else out there that can offer somebody to go over the top and do some other things? Okay, let's structure this. We'll take a cap hit at 4.8 this year. We'll take a dead cap hit next year at 4 if we want to move on. If not, we'll give them 11. And if we have to go and look at it and say, we took a cap hit over, 1 year at $8.9 million, the cap hit specific, then worth it for MVS for 1 year with the unknown of what the offense would look like and whether Sky Moore or trading for Kadarius Toney, which they were obviously trying to do. We heard from Patrick Mahomes that they were doing in the offseason and trying to get that to work as well. So they've had their eyes on Kadarius Toney. So it's going to be interesting this offseason to see what happens just because of what Juju does the rest of the way.
Yeah.
Because if he paces, when he returns, if he continues pacing to what he was the previous 3 weeks, he's going to get a lot of money.
Yes, he is.
Because he's going to say, look, I'm Juju again.
He comes back and finishes the season off the way he's been going.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Christian Kirk, that's kind of the money he's looking at. I mean, I would think 19, 20 million should be his ballpark for sure. He's still a young guy.
If he, let me ask you this then. From the Chiefs' perspective, if he returns, let's say he returns against the Rams, misses 1 week, and he and Mahomes continue their relationship and he's, picking up 70, 80 yards per game and 5-6 receptions the rest of the way, does he become somebody that the Chiefs then prioritize to bring back based on what their wide receiver room looks like? Or is it also we could prioritize it all we want, but we prioritized Tyreek Hill until we said no thank you that you got over the threshold of what we're willing to pay. But more of look, Juju's going to play and it's going to be a bad free agent market. And he's going to walk, and we'll go find somebody else because we're not going to pay $15, $16 million for Juju. We're paying whatever the 3 or 4 this year. McColl's going to get a lot of money. We'll reassess wide receiver after this year. That if this continues, does that then reassess the Chiefs' plan and strategy of, okay, how much more valuable cap-wise is Juju now with what we've seen him look like in the offense with Mahomes?
Yeah, I mean, to me, and the interesting thing is I wonder if, Juju gives you the season that, he was on pace for. So let's see, the average-wise, he gets there. He's averaging 70-plus yards a game, gets half dozen-plus touchdowns and everything. Has, pretty good year, but with missing maybe some games for injury. Would the Chiefs be willing at, his age to give him essentially what they were prepared to offer Tyreek?
25?
That's the
average.
And the Chiefs wanted to give Tyreek a little bit less than that. So, but let's say it was 21, 22 million. Would they be willing to go ahead and do that for Juju at his age, knowing that would take him through age 30? Or do you offer? Would it be a streamlined deal? Maybe it is a 5-year deal, but it's basically 3 for 60-ish. Would that get it done? Would Juju accept that? Or is he looking to be in that Hill and Devontae tier? Is he willing to, for a winning team to be, in that next tier down? And like I said, would he sign a Tyreek Hill light deal? The original, like the Chiefs, what they thought they were going to get Tyreek for versus what he got from the Dolphins. That would be interesting to me because if that's what ended up happening, if that was the scenario where you let Tyreek go, you get the draft assets, and you get Juju for the money you were going to give to Tyreek, to me, that's actually a pretty good deal. I'd take that.
It's surprising that, MVS signing the contract that he did, and he was a free agent, and that contract at the time is like, oh, okay, makes sense. Yeah, if you're getting that guy and you hope that he can do some different things that he did in Green Bay, but you didn't know what you were going to then pay for Juju. The last 2 years that Juju's cap hit being 2.4 and 3 is just really surprising.
It is.
For what he can offer versus then MVS on the open market getting a 3-year deal of, $30 million.
Tells you what, the importance of health in the NFL.
Yeah. It's unbelievable.
Health trumps performance sometimes.
Yeah. If he continues on this pace, and plays, then Juju's going to get paid a lot of money in the offseason. That the days of the cap hit of $2 and $3 million are well behind teams, and hopefully you enjoy it this year if once Juju gets back and that relationship returns, because the production he can have the rest of the way and what it looked like he and Mahomes were developing for a $3 million cap hit is a steal, an absolute steal.
Yeah.
So, McColl on the IR also makes that Kadarius Toney move a little more important.
Pretty good fortune there.
I'll tell you, Brett Veach is how smart is he? Like, hey, you know what? Let's get somebody in here because we're going to lose McColl for a while. That abdomen, I see something going on in that abdomen. I don't know. There's something about it. He's walking around with his shirt off, and it just doesn't look right. Is that some green in there? You know what? Let's bring somebody in. Obviously they didn't expect that to be the case, but boy, they have been able to trade Tyreek, McColl offer the things and routes and rushing attempts and quick screens that Tyreek would get. Then they trade for Kadarius Toney. McCole Hardman gets hurt and is out. And now Toney can fill in and do some of those things. Like, they haven't had to go into a game without having at least that guy that you feel like could make a difference with the ball in his hands and in space and the speed and game-breaking ability. They've been able to have that guy, and it's fortuitous that it's worked out that Kadarius Toney was available and they traded for him, and he's healthy right now, knock on wood. But it has been pretty interesting that they haven't had to miss somebody like that on the field when the big talk was, all right, Tyreek Hill's not there. What are you going to do offensively? Because you're not going to have somebody like that.
Yeah, and to me, it's back to you make your own luck. It was very fortuitous that the Chiefs have Kadarius Toney when Hardman goes down. But why do they have him? Because Veach wanted more depth. He didn't want to sit around and say, hey, sometimes it bites you the other way. I have no doubt, just based on who Brett Veach is and his personality and his work ethic and his approach to the business, I'm sure he contacted every team in the league about, hey, you know what, we could use some more depth on the offensive line. Who you got? Hey, this guy, we really like him. What's his status? What's his story? What's he available for? I'm sure they kicked the tires on everything.
Yeah.
To see, hey, can we upgrade any single position on this team? That's just the way he goes about it. And, the Chiefs, there was no reason that they had to make the Kadarius Toney deal. They did it because Brett Veach thinks it's going to make them a better team. And they're fortunate that they have that when Hardman goes down. But like I said, it's make your own luck. You made that happen because you got the deal done.
Yeah. The couple of things, and we'll break, and I want to talk about Pacheco, and I want to talk about the defense. We haven't talked about the defense enough this week, and I want to do that. But right before the 2-minute warning, I believe it was just regular old 1st and 10. That's your run-of-the-mill 1st and 10 play for the Chiefs. So it wasn't like a huge 3rd down and 8, and you got to come through. Yeah, it was 1st and 10, and they were at their own 28-yard line. The Chiefs were. That was the Toney in motion, fake it, and then he goes into the flat, and Mahomes hits him in the flat. And watching the replay, I did this the other day, but watching the game again, and I paused that one and rewound it a couple of times because I wanted to see exactly the yard markers. So when he catches the ball and the contact is made by the cornerback, if he goes down there, it's a 4-yard gain. He slips the tackle, right, and with pretty easy, ability to do that. And I don't think that was just because it was a bad tackle by the cornerback. I think you're seeing sort of the slipperiness and how those slight little moves can make a difference. And so then he gets down the sideline. There's two guys getting ready to push him out of bounds, which would have been a gain of 15 yards. He spins back, and he ends up with a 23-yard gain. So if he's tackled the first time, there's 18 fewer yards that the Chiefs have on that gain. If he's just pushed out of bounds like most every other player in the NFL would be at that time, it's 8 fewer yards. But it's still 8 yards, still another first down, essentially, that you pick up by that spin move and hidden yards and things like that. Like, you see the spin move, you see that, but, I mean, that's a 4-yard gain with another receiver. And I don't know if Sky Moore breaks the tackle or not, but just a random generic receiver in the NFL. You throw the ball to him, the cornerback's there. Nice little drive starter, 1st and 10, boom, you got 4 or 5 yards, good to go. Let's keep it rolling. Nope, slips that tackle with ease, keeps his balance, spin move, 23-yard gain, and now you're really rolling because you're, in Jaguar territory, just like that.
How is this guy available?
Yeah.
How did the Giants not make it work?
I hope it continues this way, and I hope we're not just getting overly excited about the potential that's there in the little bits and pieces that we've seen so far. I hope it continues this way, but Chiefs behind the scenes publicly are saying
all the right things. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
About this
Tony's
guy.
saying all the right things. Everybody seems to be kumbaya right now.
Yep. He's in the facility as much as I am. Patrick Mahomes said. Travis Kelce on his podcast saying that, we had these preconceived notions, and he's been nothing but professional since he's been in here, and that's been awesome to see. So, yeah, we'll find out. We'll take a timeout. We'll come back. I want to talk about the running backs. Eric Bieniemy, we played the clip in the previous hour. He said something yesterday that made sense in terms of Pacheco's workload and, just the carry share that he had in the game against the Jags. We'll do that and then talk some defense. And Chris Jones, top 5 at Vegas for Defensive Player of the Year. Not that he's going to get it, but for people saying he should be in the conversation, Vegas says he is in the conversation. We continue. More Zone next.
Take the show with you by listening live on 810WHB.com, in the 810 mobile app, or by subscribing to The Zone wherever you get your podcasts. The Zone with Jason Anderson.
Charvarius Ward, do you anticipate maybe he can at least do some things in practice this week?
Yeah, we'll see with Sharkavius, yes. Sharkavius.
Weekdays from 10 to 2 on Sports Radio 810 WHB.
All right, we continue right here on Sports Radio 810 WHB. Matt Derrick, Chiefs Digest, is our guest. Let's hear from Eric Bieniemy. He talked yesterday at the podium. I played this clip in the first hour. It's a quick one, about 15 seconds or so. He was asked by Adam Teicher about, communication that takes place with the running backs, but the communication between the coaches when you've got a guy like Pacheco that's getting the lion's share of the carries and a guy like Clyde Edwards-Helaire, who was your number one running back for a while, that is on the sideline continuing to watch. What's that communication like?
Just like we talk about communication with the players, and, there's communication with us as well. And the thing that we're always talking about is making sure that if somebody has a hot hand, let's ride with it. Let's just go with it. But there's always some communication that takes place.
So he was asking just specifically, yeah, we talk. Of course we talk. But it's that middle part of, hearing Andy Reid say, on I think Monday when he was asked about it and saying, well, we just wanted to get Pacheco in the flow of the game. It wasn't anything. It wasn't a plan for Edwards-Helaire to get 0 carries or only 4 reps. Just wanted to get Pacheco in the flow of the game. Well, getting somebody in the flow of the game means you're going to have him in there for a while to get a number of carries. It's not going to be a series or 2 and then get him out of there. It's going to be a couple, 3 series and keep giving him the ball, get him in the flow of the game, as he said. And so I didn't really, I heard that and I'm like, then it's got to be part of the plan for Pacheco to get the ball that many times, or at least to be in the game for as long as he was, maybe not to that wide of a gap and so far skewed one way. But Eric Bieniemy, that makes more sense of let's get Pacheco in the flow of the game early, and then as we get to points to where we go, Clyde hasn't played, what do we want to do here? And, hey, Greg, what are we thinking here? I mean, we got to stay with Isaiah right now. I mean, he's in the hole. He's reading this. He's doing that. Right now, let's stay with it. And until we see something different in this game, let's stay with Isaiah here. Unless he gets tired or, fumbles again, or we come back to the sideline and he's not reading it, let's stay with him right now. And I can see then at that point, you just keep staying with him and then Clyde ends up not playing. Whereas against the Chargers, maybe there's a play here or there that they look at and go, what were you watching here, Isaiah? You're missing this. You're not seeing that. Where you at? Where's your mind at right now? What are you seeing out there on the field? And they're talking to him about what he's seeing on the field while Clyde is out there playing. I can certainly see that being a scenario too.
Yeah, and it's a bit of the running back version of what happened to Sky Moore against Indianapolis when he only played a handful of snaps in that game. And when Andy Reid, as explained at the time, was, hey, we had some packages for him, but then we get behind, and those packages weren't really designed for us to be running in those situations, so we kind of get away from them, and he doesn't end up playing. Same thing happened with Clyde. I mean, clearly they put Clyde in for that one drive, as Andy Reid explained. That was the intention. That was going to be his drive, and then it goes 3 and out, partly because Clyde gets 2 targets and drops one, and maybe both throws were a little shaky, but one was kind of definitely a drop, but the other one was.
He certainly wasn't the first read on either one of those.
No,
he was more of an outlet on both of them. So,
and they go 3 and out and gets out. And then complicated by that was Pacheco has the fumble, which, as Greg Lewis said yesterday, they didn't put on Pacheco, didn't think it was his fault. But whenever that happens, and it happens to the Chiefs, a running back that they want to make sure that they're building his confidence, they don't take him out.
Yeah.
So now maybe he took away a drive from Clyde in the first half. Maybe Clyde would have had 2 drives.
Look at him, crazy like a fox. If I fumble, I get another drive.
Not the best plan, no. And I will look at that. If that was the plan, I wouldn't do that. But
that's that Rutgers education.
There you go. That's
smart.
That's some definitely northeast
playing
stuff
chess.
going on there. That's 4D. That's some 4D chess right there for sure. But you're right. I mean, you change the game plan a little bit, and then you get into the second half, and all of a sudden you're like, yeah, you got to ride the hot hand.
This dude's picking up 5-6 yards a pop.
At this point, he's playing well, and Clyde had 1 drive that didn't go well, so we don't want to take away from that and
stay with it.
I mean, we'll see. I mean, the proof will be in the pudding the next couple of weeks.
Yeah.
If that becomes the norm and not the outlier, and we see Pacheco's getting 15, 20 touches a week, and Clyde's getting 2 or 3, then we'll know that was always part of the plan, and this was just one part of the plan. If Clyde continues to get some workload and maybe one week he is the guy that gets most of the work, then we'll see, okay, this is still a running back by committee. They're trying to find out and identify who they think is the best match each week. But I go back to what I told you guys last week. I mean, three-headed running back rooms don't work.
Yeah.
And if one of those guys was not going to separate, the Chiefs needed to separate one of those guys.
Yep.
And I think both those things happened on Sunday.
And I'd rather it be Pacheco. I see something a little bit more in Pacheco and a burst. I'm going to use the stat the last time for this week. I may have to use it again next week.
And I wasn't listening to Adam Teicher again this week, so I don't know what the stat was.
Damn you. Well, I've used it about 50 times, so you might have heard it already.
Why am I always busy when you guys are talking to Adam Teicher?
It's all good. It's because it's a day off. You don't have to go out to airlines.
Oh, it's
You're
Tuesday.
Enjoying yourself.
Tuesday's a nightmare.
Yeah, you're like, I am just going to do whatever you want around the house, whatever it might be. I'm not sure. But the last 6 games for Edwards-Helaire, the carries that he has had, 16, 9, 9, 6, 4, 0.
That's trend.
Yeah. I mean, that's not a good trend for Edwards-Helaire if you're saying, well, it was just circumstance. Well, we were just going with a hot hand. And that's 6 weeks in a row it's either stayed the same or gone down. And it's 4 weeks in a row that it's gotten fewer and fewer. 9, 6, 4, 0. So maybe it's 10 on Sunday. And it's like, okay, so it was maybe a little more circumstance. Maybe it's 2 or 3. And you're like, okay, this is what it's going to be moving forward then.
That's a hit single that's dropping out of the top 40.
That is exactly right. Prince Tega Winogo, did you see anything there that says, I know some people were saying, why wouldn't he play in front of Andrew Wiley now? I don't know that I saw that. I mean, but what did you see in the small sample size, limited amount of time that he filled in for Andrew Wiley?
I thought he played pretty well. I mean, and one evidence of that, didn't really hear his name mentioned. I mean, it's always a good thing for an offensive lineman if you're not talking about him. I thought it was pretty solid. And yeah, I mean, with Wiley, it was with the right elbow. I mean, that was the biggest issue. He tried to play with it. They put a brace on it during the game, and he tried to keep giving it a go. But you're a right tackle and right elbow, right arm. You can't use your right arm. That's a problem.
Yeah.
So it looks like he's healthy. MRI was positive and everything. So I would expect that Wiley is going to start and play this week. But Chiefs learned about Prince Tega Winogo. I mean, that was good. I mean, they've found that this is a guy that they can trust in a situation like that.
Yeah. They schemed with him in the game. They chipped. They had quicker passes. They had running backs come over that way. They had some different things to protect him. But it also worked. And, he, like you said, it wasn't to where it's like, wow, this play got blown up because Prince just got whipped. Just got beat badly. And I think not hearing his name is probably why there were a number of people saying, well, why shouldn't he play in front of Andrew Wiley? Well, there were a number of reps that he lost, and it just happened to be that there was one that Seth Kaiser went back and looked at the film, that it was a specific play, it was a 3-step drop, and whoever the number 1 receiver was won their matchup, won their battle. And so Mahomes, 3-step drop, boom, throws it. If he clutches it a half second more, it's a sack because Prince got beat pretty good. But that play worked out. The receiver won, and Mahomes, 3-step drop on time. Boom, there's my read. He's open, beat his guy, throw it, and then he's about to get hit by, Prince's guy. But it didn't even go down as a pressure because that's how quick Mahomes got rid of the ball. So those are things where maybe you don't see that I'm glad Seth and others go through the film study because I didn't see it at the time either. It's just he got rid of the ball, there's a first down, move the chains, and keep it rolling.
And to the point on that specifically, I want to underline is that I thought Mahomes did a really good job of getting rid of the football on time.
Agreed.
And just was in a really good rhythm. Honestly, I mean, I think there was only maybe a handful of mistakes in what was otherwise a perfect game. I know he'd love to have the interception back. There were a couple of times that he should have gone to the run in the RPO because pass wasn't there, and you got to read that. I mean, that's on the quarterback to make the read. I mean, it's if you're running an RPO and you decide to keep the ball's got to get out.
Yeah, exactly.
You can't. You've got to make the pre-snap read. I mean, it's just like an option. It is an option, and the quarterback's got to make that read. And if the play's not there, you get rid of it.
Yeah.
And other than a couple of those in RPOs, I mean, I thought he played just about a darn near perfect game.
And he knew exactly on that one play because we could see it on the TV. He looked over the sideline and he was so mad at himself. It's like my bad, just because he knew that it was an RPO and he held it and then he did something else and it was illegal.
If anytime the Chiefs get flagged for an illegal man downfield,
Mm-hmm.
100% of the time, it's because it's an RPO that didn't get rid of the ball quickly enough.
We'll take a timeout. We'll come back. We'll talk about the revitalized defensive line, getting sacks, not having to bring blitzes as much to get sacks or pressures, and Chris Jones dominating. We'll do that with Matt Derrick next.
You're in the zone with Jason Anderson on Sports Radio 810 WHB. The Zone with Jason Anderson.
Let's go next to Matt Derrick. Go ahead, Matt.
Hey, Patrick. Good to see you.
Good seeing you.
Hey, you're working with a new center now.
Yeah, he broke up. I don't know if that's just me or...
Matt, we got you?
Weekdays from 10 to 2 on Sports Radio 810 WHB.
All right, Matt Derrick is our guest. Spags was asked about the defensive line and, getting to the quarterback, picking up sacks, not doing it from the blitz as often as we've seen the last couple of years, to where it's almost been mandatory to get any pressure would have to be through a blitz. They've been doing that. What have you seen in this defensive line? They get Frank Clark back, whatever that may mean, but certainly it helps in terms of keeping Dunlap fresh and Frank Clark fresh, all that stuff. But so the defensive line, what have you seen, and is this now a defensive line that could be relied upon to a degree to get pressure without having to bring an extra defensive back or linebacker?
I mean, I'm not sold that they're there yet, but I mean, it's Chris Jones. I mean, when Chris Jones is on, this defensive line can get some things done, and because frankly, at this point in the season, he has largely been the only one to get anything done. And when the other guys have been having success, it's because Chris Jones is just absolutely destroying things on the inside. And he didn't have a big numbers game. I mean, he had a 1.5 sacks, I guess, on Sunday, so it wasn't like a huge numbers game. But he was still destroying everything. And, I mean, everybody else was getting some really favorable one-on-one matchups that allowed them to get some pressure. To me, everything revolves around Chris Jones.
Yeah. It's interesting. The first two drives for the Jaguars, the third down stops that they got. 3rd down and 9 was the pass that was batted down by George Karlaftis on the first drive after the onside kick. And Spags is right. That was like a 20-yard gain. The receiver was wide open. Watching the all-22, I didn't go and watch until he said that. And so then I see the all-22 and wide open at like the 20-yard line. So that they were like the 48, right? Something like that. The receiver is going to be at like the 20-yard line and was going to catch the ball. And it was going to be at least a first down and in field goal range and all of that stuff. And Karlaftis knocked it down. So good timing, all of that stuff.
Yep.
The next 3rd down was 3rd and 2, in which it was Trevor Lawrence keeper, and Chris Jones just destroyed that play. Just blew up the blocker, got into the backfield, which made Lawrence stop, hesitate, cut back, and then try to go forward. And at that point, Willie Gay and Karlaftis were on the backside pursuit. Trevor Lawrence is not going to be able to do anything at that point. He was supposed to be able to get outside, but Chris Jones just destroyed it. So those first couple drives, 3rd downs, you get off the field because a good play by Karlaftis and knocking the ball down, but it wasn't because of pressure. And then the next time it was because Chris Jones was just simply Chris Jones.
And again, we're talking about 3rd down plays. And that's when you're going to get the pass rush, and that's when you're going to get sacks is on 3rd down. How do you normally get sacks on 3rd down? You put them into some unfavorable passing situations. 3rd and 2 is usually a convertible play. So Chris Jones blowing that up is good. What you want to do is 3rd and 8. How do you get teams in 3rd and 8? You stop the run on 1st or 2nd down. And that's where the Chiefs the last 2 weeks have been immeasurably better.
I wish there was a way to credit. It wouldn't be a hockey assist, or maybe it is like a hockey assist. Willie Gay and George Karlaftis got the tackle on 3rd and 2 on Trevor Lawrence. Only because Chris Jones completely blew the play up.
Yeah.
Shouldn't that be like a half like they only got the tackle because if Chris Jones doesn't do that, Willie Gay, George Karlaftis don't make or maybe they do, but it's probably a first down at that point. But they get the tackle for loss, and Chris Jones was really the one that gets the play for loss. You know what I mean? Like, is there a way to? And I know like PFF will grade it a certain way, so you can
hope
you can. Chris Jones has graded out pretty well in PFF this year.
Yes, he has. He's getting credit for that.
So at least that one seems like it makes sense. He is the 6th betting favorite in Vegas. Micah Parsons is the heavy -250 favorite to win Defensive Player of the Year. Nick Bosa is at +750. Judon +1,000. Myles Garrett and Max Crosby +3,000. And then Chris Jones at +4,000. So he's the 6th betting favorite. But he's in the conversation. Like he's not 1st or 2nd because the numbers that those guys in front of him are putting up are pretty absurd. Yeah. I mean, Max Crosby's having a just brilliant season and earning every penny of what he's getting, and Micah Parsons essentially makes that Cowboys defense go. So, all right, Chiefs Chargers. What do you think?
I mean, you can throw out the records when these two teams get together.
Can you?
It does feel like that. I mean, the Chargers are really banged up right now, but I'm expecting them to have as many of the guys that usually haunt the Chiefs back as normal. This is their game. I mean, if the Chargers do not win this game, they are in a world of hurt. The Chiefs have the absolute hammer on not only AFC West, but frankly, the number one seed. They've got according to 538, they win this weekend, and the Bills lose. Chiefs have a 99% chance of winning the number one seed.
Wow.
So, and I think they get it done. I think the line's about right. Chiefs 29, Chargers 23.
29-23. That line, by the way, is now down to 5.
I am right on the line. So
6.5 on Wednesday.
No bet here.
6 yesterday.
Too tight for me, but
5
Chiefs
today.
win.
What's the score? 29-20?
29-23.
29-23. We got it. Thanks, Matt.
It's time to show the world why Kansas.
The Zone with Jason Anderson.
You could have also gone.
Weekdays from 10 to 2 on Sports Radio 810 WHB.
All right, we'll continue right here on Sports Radio 810 WHB. Jason Anderson with you, hanging out with Kendall Gammon here in the noon hour. He's presented by Freeman Health System, centered around you. Freeman Health System, your local hospital joining your circle of trust. Crown Automotive in Lawrence, your Lawrence new and certified pre-owned Toyota and Volkswagen dealership near Kansas City, Olathe, and Topeka. Experience the Crown difference at crownautomotive.com. Kendall, what's up, man? How are you, sir?
Not much. I'm going to work hard today to screw something up really bad so I can get a bump. And so I get one of those bad bumps I like. It's got to be something. So if you hear it, it might be on purpose, it might not.
You know, that is an interesting part. You only get the returner if you do something bad. It's never boy, you nailed that prediction.
Yeah,
you were on the air saying, I want them to draft Patrick Mahomes. Now you don't get that. You don't get that returner. No, it's they've gone. No, that's the fun little returner there.
There you go.
You are all decked out in your gorilla gear
and
today.
Why would I not be? I appreciate you noticing. Although Northwest is
tomorrow,
in the playoffs as well tomorrow.
Same time, 1 o'clock.
Yeah,
they
there
both
we go.
play at 1 o'clock tomorrow.
We have University of Indianapolis. Who do you all have?
Wichita Baptist.
That just rolls off the tongue.
Yes. I think it's Wichita. It's actually spelled Quachita.
Wichita.
Is it Wichita?
I'm sorry, Wichita Baptist.
Yeah, sorry.
You know, that's
Wichita, Wichita.
Quinoa, quinoa.
Yeah, right. At least I got the "wa" part, right?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Yeah,
nailed that. But yeah, they're the 4 seed,
Okay.
Northwest unseeded. So the winner of that game will get number 1 seed Grand Valley.
Yeah.
And then,
Grand Valley.
Yep. And then when Northwest beats Grand Valley, and then Pitt State gets through Indy, and then Ferris, it'll be
Then you come to
Northwest
our
and Pitt
place.
State down in
Good
Pittsburgh.
enough.
Yeah, that's. I'm already letting you know that on December 3rd, it's going to be that game to go to what would be the Final Four.
I will set the reminder. It is crazy though how the Division II does it because
does it.
Mark that.
You almost had
it. Almost. But it is interesting because you've got how they do it in terms of the regions. So I think the top 4 teams in the NCAA Division II poll are in one division.
Yep.
You look at IUP out on the East; they're the number 1 seed. They're number 15 in the poll.
Yeah,
crazy.
And I've said this, and it's not to take anything away from Northwest or the MIAA or Pitt State or anything, but I think acknowledging what's gone on, and that in the Midwest, if you're not playing Division I, you then play Division II, maybe
Right.
MIAA. In the East and West Coast, if you're not playing Division I, you then go to FCS.
Yeah.
And then if you don't play Division I or FCS, then you go down to Division II. And I've always felt like the Midwest MIAA, the
Great
Lakes has teams that are good enough to compete with some teams in the FCS.
Concur. Yeah, I would
because
concur.
this area, the second level is Division II, where those areas, the second level is FCS.
Absolutely.
And I think that's why you see so much of a domination at times of the teams. The Great Lakes, in the MIAA, are the best teams in the country because
For sure.
just have better players.
Yep, absolutely.
And they've got those programs rolling. So. I'm hoping that December 3rd, it's Pitt
That would
State
be fabulous.
and Northwest State. So.
Very easily could be.
Yeah, I mean, Northwest got the experience, and Grand Valley's good, so they would have to go to – and Northwest lost some close games, and, they'd have to go there and win. But stranger things have happened with Northwest. They've not been the 1 seed before when they've gone to the national championship game or won it. So they've done it all different ways. So, and if that doesn't happen for you, I'd be good with Pitt State winning it for you. Every other part of it, no, thank you. But knowing that you will be happy.
Likewise, I'm sure.
Knowing that you will be happy, I'd be good with it. Kendall Gammon is our guest. All right, quick recap of the Jags game. Kind of just felt like business-like. Go there, get it done, get out.
Yeah, it really did. It's interesting. It's a 10-point game, but I never saw it as a 10-point game.
Right.
I was never bothered. I wasn't bothered even with the onside kick. I was like, okay, here we go. And then the defense to go out there. I think Spagnuolo talked about it this week. To go out there and force a punt and do what they did, pretty impressive.
Yeah, they got 5 plays and they end up punting. 3rd and 9, they get a stop, so they punt the ball away. But yeah, I did have, and I know that you've said that. I've heard a number of people say that even the onside kick, they're like, okay, it's fine. I had a little Indianapolis
feel
come over on the onside kick, just of because Because we had talked last week that I was worried that this was one of those trap games, and I know
Yep.
they had already went through that, so
Yep.
is it going to bite them again? I just had a concern about that, and when the Jags came out an onside kick, I thought, okay, this is a game that the Jags have been preparing for, prepping for. They are looking at this as the litmus test. We are going to throw the kitchen sink at the Chiefs, and the Chiefs are just coming off an emotional, hard-fought, physical overtime game against the Titans, and it's a noon game on a Sunday, which sometimes can be a little sleepier than those nationally televised games. There was a little bit of a, uh-oh. But then they got the stop. The Chiefs drove down the field. Pacheco fumbled. Okay, all right, is this the, back-to-back?
Right.
They lose the possession on the onside kick, then they are in, the red zone, and they fumble the ball. But then that was it. From that point forward, it was all Chiefs.
I think it's interesting. I'm curious your thoughts. But this team, the thing that I think is really defining them is this defense is improving.
Yeah.
And if that continues, I mean, the offense and what they can do, even down the receivers, which I'm sure we will talk about. But the defense is playing really well.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's the Chiefs jump up to a 19-0 lead because the defense is getting stops.
It's amazing.
And you don't lose the turnover battle 3-0.
Exactly, and still win
by 10 where it didn't feel like it was a 10-point game.
Exactly.
That doesn't happen in the NFL, and it shows that the Chiefs are clearly the superior team of those two on the field, that the Jags have a long way to go. They might be better coached and more organized than they were a year ago, but they still have a long way to go to be on the Chiefs level, and maybe in a couple of years they get there.
Right.
And we're talking about, the Jags, Chiefs are heading to Jacksonville. Oh, goodness. How good is this game going to be? But that's not the case right now.
No.
But I came away from that game while it was businesslike. I was impressed by it because they couldn't ever kind of figure it out against the Colts. They never got into a rhythm or a groove against the Colts. It felt like it was just pulling teeth and swimming upstream the whole game. And the Jags game started like that, and it could have gone that way.
Right.
And it didn't. And they took back control, and they, defensively got stops, offensively moving the ball. Pacheco was good. Patrick Mahomes was his typical good self, and they jump out to 19-0, and there's no concern. There's no worry.
Yeah, and obviously I'm not splitting atoms here, but they're so used to playing from behind, unfortunately, that it doesn't faze them at all. And it's interesting to watch them. I thought, you mentioned Pacheco, I thought his downhill running was, I would describe it as angry. I mean, I thought he was running angry. I thought the offensive line was blocking angry. To me, they were challenged at some point in time by somebody to what they could do. I thought there was a noticeable difference. And generally, I don't say that, but I remember saying it out loud to myself, and because I talk to myself quite a bit, and just thinking, okay, there's something going on here. They're trying to establish it hard.
Yeah, I would, we talked, it was last week after the Titans game. We're trying to think, what was the game where they didn't run the ball at all?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. A week ago.
Exactly.
That's what it was, last week. And we were talking about how, they just didn't try it. And Andy Reid had discussed, it wasn't really work or whatever. They just didn't even run the ball because it wasn't working, and they were getting stuff to the line of scrimmage. That, you're right, there had to be a challenge this week with the offensive line of go get it done, establish the run, open up some holes, be more physical, read the blocks better if that's part of it with the running backs, but just overall. And they were clearly a better, more efficient running team, and that makes all the difference in the world for the offense. I mean, because you're not stopping the Chiefs if they're able to run the football as well. But yeah, I saw that. I noticed that too, that it felt like it was a different feel with the offensive line. They got challenged before the Bucs game, and they responded. And I think they got challenged in running the football and the offensive line overall before this game, and they responded.
And I think at this point, if you can get the run game going, it doesn't have to be even, but if you can, and again, not splitting atoms, but if you can set up the pass game for the Chiefs, the play action, everything going on, it does get ugly for other teams in terms of how you deal with things, because they are the more complete team than I've seen in quite a while. Now, it's going to be interesting this week with the receivers being out and all the game time decisions and everything. That being said, I think this is a game where you could see him run the ball 25 times because this defensive line, I mean, you and I aren't that far away from being on the defensive line for the Chargers this week. I mean, they had somebody who was on the practice squad last week, I think, from the Commanders. If that's happening, then we got a chance too.
And I think he may have played like 35% of the snaps.
Wow.
There are 4 players. I went through this, I think it was yesterday or Wednesday. Let me pull up the notes that I made. Here it is. So it's from yesterday. The Chargers in the game the first go around, just on defense, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 players that played in the game in week 2 that will not be playing on Sunday. Joey Bosa played 91% of the snaps. He's out. J.C. Jackson, cornerback, played 100% of the snaps. He's out. And then 3 defensive tackles, Jerry Tillery, Agbanania, and Austin Johnson.
Wow.
And they've been replaced by practice squad players. So they've got 3 of their 4 defensive tackles were on their or somebody else's practice squad when the season started.
That's amazing.
And those are the guys that are going to be there trying to stop the interior and the run. And Bosa's not going to be there either. So you take him off the field, you can focus on Mack, and they don't have interior to stop the run, and their linebackers are suspect at times too. This would be more concerning than the Titans game if they can't establish the run against the Chargers.
I would agree with that. That's a great way to look at it, and I hadn't thought about it that way. And that's an interesting stat. I wasn't aware it was that many people, and that's an issue for sure.
Yeah, and so the Chiefs didn't have Butker and McDuffie in that game, and they'll get them back. But they probably won't have Juju.
Right.
They definitely won't have McCole. Hopefully, Marquez Valdez-Scantling will play.
Right.
He was back at practice yesterday.
Limited yesterday, right?
Limited yesterday. And it's an illness, so I feel like not practicing Wednesday with an illness and then returning to practice on Thursday with an illness, probably going to play.
Right.
And,
you would think so.
Unless it takes a turn for the worse. And we'll see with Mike Williams and Keenan Allen as well. But it's odd. I actually want them to play. I want them to play, and I know that sounds dumb because it's like, why? I've always been of the mindset, like NCAA tournament, for example. Like, if my team's the 1 seed, I want the 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 to all lose. I want them to all to lose. I don't want it to be like, the easiest run to the championship. Yes. Easiest run to the 6 wins. Cool. I would love that. But for some reason with this week, I want to see it with Mike Williams and Keenan Allen out there.
But the odds say no.
Yeah.
Those guys, you feel bad for them. They can't stay healthy. Keenan Allen especially. I mean, it just seems like year in, year out.
Yeah, I mean, it's soft tissue injuries for him. Apparently, his hamstring got worse during the bye week for some reason. Like he goes and plays, and then they have to sit him. And now who knows if it's going to be something to where he plays this weekend or not. So, yeah, that's unfortunate. Titans offensive coordinator got a lot of love last night. He was arrested for DUI last night.
Things I wish I hadn't done I
mean,
good.
He's been, he's a guy that's caught a lot of flack in Tennessee with how that offense is going.
Right.
And then last night he got a lot of credit. He was getting a lot of love for that. So that's unfortunate for him and really anybody. So Kendall Gammon is our guest. He's presented by Freeman Health System, centered around you. Freeman Health System, your local hospital, joining your circle of trust in Crown Automotive in Lawrence as well. I want to talk about from a player's perspective, LA is not a place where the Charger fans will pack the stadium.
Right.
There will be plenty of red. Does that do much? Is that fans outside sort of looking at that to where if players come out to an opposing team and they see a lot of their colors in the stands, is that extra juice, or does it really matter because you've kind of won or lost the game the week of before you get to that actual day?
It does make a difference, I think, Jason. That's a great question. You notice it as a player. Certainly in my days with the Steelers and then my days with the Chiefs, you go and especially the Steelers going back because we just know what that is. And you notice it. You notice it quickly. And the nice thing is, you don't deal with the crowd noise, so you don't have the silent counts. You don't have things like that. That's just not an issue when you're going there. And it's too bad for the home team, but it is nice for the traveling team. And you do notice it as a player, and I think it does give you energy at times.
Yeah, you're right. The silent count. There's no need for that in LA. You don't. It's not something you really have to practice all that much.
No. And we'll get to it later on. It's the last game of the year, but the Vegas Raiders. I mean, I went to that game last year, and it's sterile. It's as sterile of environment as possible. It's nothing like it used to be in Oakland, and you don't have to worry about things there either.
Yeah, because I mean, there are fans in Vegas that were fans of the Raiders too, and all of that stuff. But there's certainly a huge element of the just fans that are there in Vegas, and we'll go to a game too. Well, we're going to go out to Vegas for this weekend. We can go see a game. Yep. Chiefs fans, whatever the opposing fans are. I mean, tourists that are there just enjoying Vegas that end up going to the game. That's the thing about playing down in Tennessee, in Nashville. I've been to a couple of games down at Nissan Stadium with the Titans, both of them being Chiefs games, and both of those atmospheres were kind of sterile, and there were plenty of Chiefs fans there, and there's such a tourist kind of crowd in Nashville that, hey, we're here, let's go to a game, and things like that. So Vegas, I can see that, and Chargers just, Chargers fans in general, are they showing up?
Yeah, you're talking about Las Vegas, Nash Vegas. It's the same thing. It's somewhere where you look at it, it's like, well, let's go to a game this year. Well, if we're going to go to a game, let's go to the Las Vegas game. I mean, you can do all those different things, and it's understandably so. That's why there will never not be a sellout in Las Vegas, because you're always going to have the other team coming.
Yeah, I mean, my wife has already said that, hey, if you're going to the Super Bowl in Vegas, I would like to go as well. I'd be
shocker.
Stowaway. I'm like, all right. And I'm like, well, it's in Phoenix this year. She's like, no, I'm good. It's like, it's in Vegas next year. She's like, all right, I will. What are we going to do to where I will be there as well? I'm like, all right, well, we'll get it figured out.
That's funny.
We'll get it figured out. Hopefully the Chiefs are there as well. It's already planning. It's like my son. Who do they play in the Super Bowl this year? It's week 5, son. Yeah, who do they play in the Super Bowl? He legit.
That's funny.
I joked about this, Kendall, that he's so spoiled that, he started really watching football in 2018. He was born in 2015.
Right.
So he started watching football in 2018 or whatever.
Wow.
And when he was paying attention,
that's all he knows.
Called him Pat DeHomes. That was he was Pat DeHomes is the way that he pronounced the name. And so all he's known is that. And so all he's known is the Super Bowl in 2019. That was when he really watched all the games.
Wow.
Super Bowl in 20. And last year, throughout the year, he was asking, like, oh, are they playing them in the Super Bowl? Who are they going to play in the Super Bowl? I'm like,
That's
you
us.
You are so spoiled, man. You have no idea. I'm jealous that your upbringing is going to be with number 15 at quarterback. I also know that you're going to be so spoiled that post Patrick Mahomes, you're not going to know what to do with yourself.
Right.
You're not going to know what that's
Mahomes.
like. Patrick
Mahomes. Which I assume he was punished for.
Yes. That's right. Go to your room until you can figure out how to talk, 2-year-old. Idiot.
You will not disrespect QB1.
That's right. His name is Patrick. His dad's Pat. I don't care about the DeHomes part, but you damn sure better call him Patrick. All right? That's what the real fans call him. Kendall Gammon is our guest here as we're hanging out on this Friday. I wanted to get your thoughts on the crazy ending in Buffalo with the Vikings game and down at the 1-yard line and the fumble by Josh Allen and how that whole thing happened from the Bills get the stop on 4th and goal, they're going to win, to then, oh my gosh, they're going to lose. They end up losing in overtime. But that specific play, like as an offensive lineman, when you're going for a quarterback sneak, I mean, it feels, I don't know, maybe it is different with a quarterback sneak at the 50-yard line on 4th and 1 versus a quarterback sneak at the half-yard line. I mean, is it a different feel from an offensive lineman? Is there more of a, I've got to get out the center, I've got to snap this quicker, Josh Allen, I've got to be more, I've got to be faster in getting the ball and trying to get and dig in and not give up a safety? Is it a different feel to where almost your body subconsciously speeds up and something like that can happen?
I would say this. It's not different when you think about it from the outside in, but I think it would be easy, and I've been in those situations before, in the preseason, of course, where you do think about it differently, but it's not. I would liken it to the fact of whether I snap an extra point in the first quarter or whether the game-winning field goal in overtime, it's the same snap. It's 8 yards. It's 3.5 revolutions. Mm-hmm. Everything is the same, and that's the way you've got to do it. But I think sometimes when you start placing more importance on it, our mind starts to go a little haywire, and we don't do things the way we should be and the way we've practiced them. So right there, it should have been the same in my opinion. But, man, when I saw that, I was just like, no way that just happened.
Like, if that's at the 1-yard line, I don't think they fumble it. I think they snap the ball.
I would agree.
I think it's there. They know that if they lose any yard, if you don't pick up any yards, it's a safety.
Right.
And now a field goal wins the game for that team.
Right. The only thing you couldn't afford to do is what they did.
That's the only way that it's like, okay, it felt like at the time, you're going to lose this game.
Right.
And that's ultimately what ended up happening in overtime, but they go down and tie the game, and then we know about the interception in the end zone in overtime. But that was as twist and turn of a game as we've seen in a long time, with the 4th and 18, one-handed catch, and then getting down inside the 1-yard line and not picking it up and then fumbling the snap. But Just curious, like from an offensive lineman, just that being in that situation of knowing that it's one thing if we don't pick up the yard here, they get the ball. But if we don't pick up the yard here, we give them 2 points.
Yeah. Right.
And it looked like Josh Allen was sped up. And maybe the center
I think he was too.
sped up.
There's
and
no
maybe
doubt
Josh
about
Allen
it.
thought, I got to get lower and I've got to get the ball faster and things like that. But
Well, I think it's akin to, trying to run with the ball before you catch it because you know what's coming on. You know nobody's blocking for you. You probably know from at the pre-coverage read that you're going to be one-on-one with somebody he's coming up. I think it's like that. And you rush things, and when you rush things is when you make a mistake.
Yeah. Kendall Gammon is our guest. He's presented by Freeman Health System and Crown Automotive in Lawrence. All right, Chiefs and Chargers this weekend. These games always turn out to be closer games.
Right.
I feel like this is wider in terms of the injuries in the matchup.
Agree.
But it's always one of those things with the Chargers, whether it's on the road or in Kansas City. So what do you think of this matchup this weekend?
You know what? Is the line around 6.5, 7, somewhere in there?
It's now 5.
It's now 5, but it was hovering around 6, wasn't it?
Yeah, a couple of days ago. So on Wednesday was the last Wednesday was 6.5. Yesterday it dropped to 6, and today it's down to 5.
Yeah, I don't think you count the last 2 times because that's all driven by what people are betting on to begin with. And for me, I still think it's a double-digit win.
Okay.
I started to say 34-17. I'll say 27-17 and 10-point. But I just don't see the Chargers able to hold up because, again, they're not going to have to deal with crowd noise for the most part. I think the Chiefs are going to run all over them. And I think the only thing that will stop them from running is the fact of, okay, we've set the run up so well that we're going to have the play action pass and we're going to go ahead and go over top. And would not surprise me to see Kadarius Toney get over top this week for a nice one. I mean, you look at it last week. Hell, he scored that touchdown on one leg. Just think of what would happen if he uses 2 legs.
That's right.
I can't even imagine.
This guy's got 2 legs and didn't even
he
use
just
one of
hopped
them.
into the end zone, literally with one.
Since Next Gen Stats have started keeping track, Kadarius Toney had the most yards of separation from the nearest defender on a touchdown ever.
Really?
Yeah, it was like 22 yards of separation from him and the nearest defender inside the 10-yard line. Like, how does that happen?
I mean, you almost have to. Yeah, have to have an intercom system with the other team and say, listen, here's what we're doing. We need you to go to the other side of the field.
Right. I mean, it's like one thing if you're a defender falls down and you just throw the ball and he's running deep and there's nobody within 25 yards of him because the defender fell, right?
Yeah.
And that's because you've got all that space to work with. You've got like 18 yards to work with. That's it. And somehow he's 21, 22 yards of separation from the nearest defender.
And I'm not so sure that it was broken coverage so much as scheming by Andy Reid, because he did it all game with a lot of other receivers too, to where he was clearing things out. And it was timing routes in the fact of not timing of when they throw in the ball, but timing in terms of when the guys were clearing out and the receiver that was coming across and get to the void and the space was coming across so late that he was wide open. They'd lost sight of him.
I just wonder how often, if ever, the Chiefs have faked the pop pass and ended up throwing to that guy. Because Patrick Mahomes said he was the 5th option on that play.
Really?
And the Titans didn't even guard him. So I'm wondering if it's like, if they fake the pop pass, they don't throw there. This is what they're doing. This is the play.
Right.
Fake the pop pass. They're going to Kelsey over here. This is what we've seen on film. These are the tendencies. And nobody cared about him because they've never done it. And when Mahomes had to hear him yelling to even go, oh, wait, there's a guy over there, it probably was played. You can make a case it might have been played correctly by the Jags from all the tendencies of Mahomes saying 5th read, and I only knew he was there because he was yelling, and I heard him yelling over there.
So if you're playing at some place like Buffalo, then you don't hear him yelling. And just like this
Good
week
point.
on the road, you could hear him. And I guarantee you'll be able to hear him in this stadium as well.
That's a good point. You're playing on the road in a lively atmosphere that really gets loud. Can you hear Kadarius Toney 20-something yards away, whatever? Yeah.
I will say, we haven't talked about this before. I don't want to go on about me in general, but having played against the Chiefs when I was with the Steelers and the Saints, and then being on the sidelines and playing with the team, when Arrowhead is going that 142.2, it is a jet engine. Literally, from me to you, I can be yelling at you, can't hear a word. And folks, I know you can't see us. We're about 3 yards apart. I mean, it's just crazy.
Yeah, roughly. Roughly the yards apart from when Derrick Henry falls forward, what he picks up.
No kidding, right.
Not picking up per attempt, just when he falls, there's 3 extra yards is what he ends up getting. So that's a team that looked pretty good last night. Also, the Packers are not looking good right now. So we'll see what ends up happening.
Should I be enjoying the Packers' losses as much as I am?
I don't know. I didn't enjoy it as much last night because it was the Titans, but I do find it somewhat funny in watching it. And I mean, Aaron Rodgers has just been bad. He's not been good. And I know we talk about, they've been talking about receivers, and during this losing streak, and then they beat the Cowboys and then lose last night, but they put up the 31 points against the Cowboys, and that was, they went on a 17-0 run in the fourth quarter in overtime. That was more fluky than what happened the previous 5 games and then last night. And I know that people are like, well, the wide receivers. Aaron Rodgers missed wide open guys. Like, he missed Sammy Watkins coming across the middle, and you can look at it and go, well, Sammy in the right spot. Aaron Rodgers, as he was walking off the field, was so mad, and you're like, is he mad at Sammy Watkins? And you can read the lips, and he goes, bleep me, as he's walking off, like he's mad at himself that how do I miss that play? And Alan Lazard is wide open, and he airmails it, and he just looks up at the sky and can't believe that, and he's over at the sideline, talking to Lazard about, my bad, that was on me. Like, I don't know that I've seen Rodgers miss
I was just about to say, I actually appreciate that. I mean, the fact that there's a little bit of humbleness there and a little bit of self-reflection, because I don't feel like that's the case all the time.
No, I agree with that, because this year that hasn't been the case. No. It's been about, and maybe those throws earlier were, this is where I want to put it. You're not in the right spot.
Right. And that could have been, there's no doubt about it.
Those specific ones.
Hey, because he can't throw the ball and catch it too, right?
That's right, Giselle. Those specific throws were clearly, he felt it was his fault on that, because those two plays were wide open. And I think both of them were third downs that they end up punting on. He's just not playing very well right now.
I agree. And it's, but that being said, he is who he is, and he's a Hall of Famer and all those different things. But it's interesting.
And he's not going to win the MVP this year.
He is not.
That'll be number 15.
He does not get to say who's the 2-time reigning MVP. And
that's right.
That's not going to happen anymore.
Next year it'll be Patrick Mahomes.
I don't see how it could be.
The 2-time reigning MVP. It'll be Pat Mahomes. Pat Mahomes.
You will say his name right.
That's right. Or you will leave this family. You will be kicked out. You sleep outside until you figure out how to pronounce his name.
We had 2 kids on purpose. So if we had to get rid of one, we could.
Man, I haven't used that line yet. That will be enforced this weekend. Not true.
Oh, man.
Kendall, you're the man. I appreciate it as always, sir. Enjoy the conversations and hanging out with you. Thank you, sir.
You bet, as always.
Absolutely. There's Kendall Gammon. And you know what? Best of luck to the Gorillas tomorrow.
Ditto that.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Kendall Gammon, Freeman Health System, centered around you. Freeman Health System, your local hospital, joining your circle of trust. And Crown Automotive in Lawrence, your Lawrence new and certified pre-owned Toyota and Volkswagen dealership near Kansas City, Olathe, and Topeka. Experience the Crown difference at crownautomotive.com.
Want to see more of The Zone? Watch the show live on the Sports Radio 810 WHB Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, and Twitch. The Zone with Jason Anderson.
I've tried a lot of different things to get these. There's a couple squirrels that keep wanting to eat the tomatoes and my apples.
Oh, I got it. Don't plant tomatoes.
Weekdays from 10 to 2 on Sports Radio 810 WHB.
All right, thank you to Kendall Gammon joining us. We will hear from Andy Reid and play your maybe one, maybe two. I don't know. Play your TBD.
It's going to be fast because it's a
Fast Friday. It's a Fast Friday. You know what we're going to hear from Andy Reid? Here's who didn't practice. Here's who was limited. Here's who out.
Look forward to the challenge again on Fridays.
They will look forward to the challenge of playing the Chargers. That's for sure. It's injury-wise, MVS, McColl's on IR, and Juju, concussion protocol. We look forward to playing the Chargers, and a game coming up this weekend, a big one with that. Open it up. Time's yours. Andy, McColl on the it's got to be just injury stuff.
Juju, what do you think? That's game time.
He's probably out. I'd say he's probably not going to play. Probably a decent chance. Matt and I talked about it in the 11 o'clock hour, and I completely agree with him. I think it's more of a conversation of does he play against the Rams, Juju.
Probably.
Is he going to play this weekend? I'm more in line of he's not going to play this weekend. If he does, pleasantly surprised. But to me, it's going to be this time next week of. Is he out of concussion protocol? Is he playing against the Rams? Because it was so scary when you have the fencing response and you see that, it's like, all right, don't care when he returns anytime soon. Yeah. Just make sure that thing gets taken care of.
We learned with Tua though this year. I mean the scariness of the imagery and the hit on the field doesn't always equate to how quickly they're coming back.
The second one did though. The fencing response and being knocked out, that definitely equated to him being out like 2 or 3 weeks, I think it was, which might have been an overreaction from having him come back in the game.
Both ways, right?
The
both times,
one, and then they went over an extreme on the other one, just to say, or maybe that was just natural. Maybe it was going to be that long no matter what happened the week before because it was that tough of a hit. But I'll also say that I believe the same week that Tua had that happen, Olave had it happen to where he hits the ground, is knocked out, and he played the next week. He cleared concussion protocol on that Friday and played that next week. So it isn't a hard and fast rule across the board that sorry you're out. I mean it's just you passing that threshold, and Tua did not for a couple of weeks, and Juju may. I don't know. I'm just not counting on it.
No, and I mean it's the the Chiefs wide receiver look what it's going to be like on Sunday. It's funny. Last week we joked on Sound Off like, okay, finally putting the OBJ questions to bed. No, they're still alive.
Yeah, they are
still alive,
right? Because now the Chiefs. I mean, no McColl, and this week, like Marcus Kemp's going to be one of the receivers this week. I would guess, because if Lamons is still in concussion protocol, then they're going to need a gunner. So that would be Marcus Kemp, and
that's a big thing too. Dave Tobe hit on that. Yeah. You heard it on Thursday.
Right here
about
on
he's
Sports
a
Radio 810.
Four-phaser, right? Is he a four-phaser?
Four-phase guy. Four-phase guy. And Lamont is good, and he's the one that had the heads-up play of going and, picking up the football down at the 1 yard line. I meant to ask Kendall about that. Damn it.
That's
that heads-up play.
It's a less ballsy play now because so many people don't know the rule of like, okay, it hits the punting team, right? You can go get it.
I love when that happens,
and a lot of times the announcers don't know the rule.
I love when that happens because it's always a quick primer of who knows the rules and who
it
doesn't.
Is.
I love it on
what
Twitter.
Was he thinking?
On Twitter, dumb, fire Tobe.
Yeah.
Like, that was brilliant because that saved him
but
18
now
yards.
With replay, you're good. Back in the day, you had to make sure, okay, you saw it glance off the shoulder pad of the gunner, but did the referee, the umpire, the side judge.
They throw the beanie. They throw the bean bag.
Yeah, but a lot of times you're not waiting for that.
That's true.
You're going to react and go.
Hold on, official. Did you throw?
Turn around. Okay, now I'm going to go get it.
He threw the bean. Now we go get the ball.
Yeah, so because I can remember back in the day, a couple of those heads-up plays, like the refs weren't heads up there. And so you saw on the replay, but they weren't doing replay back then. Yeah. So now but I've never really, I don't know if I've ever really seen it to where like, they've advanced it for a touchdown or even like a big 50-yard game after that. Usually it's just like saving a few yards.
Yeah, I know there was one that used to be Is the rule on the punt that if it goes into the end zone, it's automatically dead now, and you can't return it? You can't return the punt if it lands in the end zone.
Yeah, I think once it crosses the plane.
But there was one to where
the plane.
There was a punt that went into the end zone, and the punt coverage team just ran down there, went in the end zone, and then they just left the field. And then the return team went and picked it up, scooped, and scored a touchdown on it because it was like, oh, nobody's going to – okay, cool, I'm out. But if a team bats the ball back in from the end zone, why would you not just land on it and knock it into the end zone for a touch? You're saving your team like 18 yards. Yeah. I didn't know the touchback rule. Like, I knew the rule about the picking it up, and you can do that, and you get your choice of –
You basically had the choice of first touch or where it ended up, right?
Or the result of the play.
Yes.
And so – but I didn't know that if it ended up in the end zone and recovered, I thought maybe it would go back to first touching that, well, we can't advance it to the 20.
Yeah.
Well, no, the end result is that it was being touched in the end zone by one of the players on the Jags, by one of the punting players, and you get the ball at 20. I would do that every time. If I'm down and returning the kick, and I let it go over my head, I'm at like the 6 or 7. I let it go over my head, and there's somebody down there. I'm turning around and waiting for him to back that back in.
Even if it hits me, you touched it already.
And I'm going to knock that thing back in the end zone, and I'm getting a touchback.
I like that play, and I like the kickoff play where it's like doing the dance of is it gonna go around the pylon or is it gonna go out of bounds? And the returner goes and steps out of bounds and touches the ball.
Love it.
That ball's out of bounds.
Because that's also a quick assessment on who knows the rules.
It is. That's why I didn't like. Is it out of basketball now? I always like the jump in the air, call a timeout. I think it might. You can't do it now, right?
You can't do it anymore. No.
But that always separated the smart players, I thought, from the dumb ones who were I'm just gonna throw it behind my back, underneath the opponent's goal, and give them a layup. No, the smart guy's gonna turn and call a timeout. I always liked that was the rule. Everybody complained about it, but I'm for players that are going to be, cerebral and, know the rules and use them to their advantage.
You mentioned announcers or whatever, but I tweeted this out last night that, and it's really the response that I was more happy about was I laughed more at. So I tweeted out, I said, Twitter dies. I'm just going to assume a broadcaster somewhere is yelling about analytics being the reason for the downfall.
Right, yeah,
And then somebody replied and said, analysts, upon hearing Twitter needs 3 more functioning servers to keep things running, quote, don't need a 3 here.
Don't need a 3 here.
Well, because that's their favorite thing to say. Down by 4 with 20. You don't need a 3. Yeah, you do. If you can get a 3, get a 3. You need a 3.
Wait, there's only 9 seconds left. Yes, at some point you need to shoot a 3.
Love that. It's one of my pet peeves of the you don't need a 3 here.
Yeah, we know. We do basic math.
There are 3 servers down, the analysts. Well, you don't need a 3. That's great.
So I've missed the latest development with Twitter. I saw everybody saying, "Is this my last tweet last night?" What's the latest?
Is it still like going to die any second? I'm
not
sure.
Why are people saying that? I'm asking.
Because apparently all the engineers walked out yesterday.
Oh, they did. Okay.
There, and so there's nobody to, I guess, police it. I'm not sure. So
it's still alive.
Yeah. So I don't know. We'll see.
Still alive.
Yep, still there. I mean, I never really doubted that it was just going to die because I don't know that you spend $40 billion and then watch something dissolve. I think you'd probably figure out a way to keep that thing going one way or another. It seems like
by what? Yeah. Try to.
Oh, well, there's $40 billion. Gave it a shot.
That together.
Gave it the old college try. Didn't work, but you know what? At least we said we tried. The worst thing is someone that doesn't try. And we gave it a shot.
Good shot.
We lost $40 billion, but, just fizzled away. No, I think they'll figure out a way to keep it going. But, if it's true, as in some of the reports that were coming out yesterday, that Twitter has only days to survive and all the engineers have left and there's no way that the servers or whatever can sustain all this without engineers keeping this thing going or whatever, that it's just going to crash. Or
I find those doom and gloom prognostications are very rarely doom or gloom.
Yeah. Yeah. As of, just political landscape. Oh, I mean, this violence is on the on the cusp.
Right. No.
Burning, everything will burn.
This is the election to save democracy.
Yes.
No, I heard that 2 years ago, though, right?
Dogs and cats living pretty much the worst parts of the Bible. Yeah. Probably not with Twitter either. I don't know. We'll take it or Mastodon, whatever that is. I found out there was something called that last night. That people
that a
were talking
social
about. I guess people are like,
media
oh, I
site?
just created this account over at da-da-da. If this happens, follow me there. I probably won't.
Nobody's going there.
Probably won't.
There's already too many social media sites.
Yeah, I don't know what I'll do. Probably get hours of my life back.
I'll be happier maybe without Twitter. Yeah.
I don't know. Where am I going to go and get these fun opinions out? Where can I possibly go?
If only you had a microphone. Oh.
Yeah. Maybe one day.
Yeah.
More Zone next.
Follow the show on Twitter at J810Anderson, at JB Briscoe, at Beards McFly, and at Sports Radio 810.
Are you sick and tired of living with that constant pain in your knees and back? You know, joint pain doesn't just keep you from doing what you love, it affects your job, your relationships, even simple things like getting dressed. This is Stephen St. John. It's time to call QC Kinetics. QC Kinetics uses advanced regenerative medicine to restore and repair damaged joint tissue, giving you your life back. Hips, shoulders, elbows, they can all be treated with natural biologics from your own body. If you're tired of steroid shots that don't work, or if you're trying to avoid surgery, call QC Kinetics now to schedule your free consultation. Learn about these exciting new cutting-edge treatments for pain caused by arthritis or injury. No drugs, no pain meds, no downtime. This is an all-natural treatment that can get you lasting relief. People here are raving about the results. Call now. Appointments are available for this coming week. There are 2 locations, 435 in State Line and in Gladstone. Call 816-412-6299. That's 816-412-6299. QC Kinetics.
Hey, this is the Fat Jack, and it's time to make some money. Are you ready to get signed up? My clients and I are turning a huge profit this year. $100 players up over $5,000 since August, and basketball started off well. Now the World Cup is there. Are you ready to make some money betting soccer? Go to FatJackSports.com, and for only $600, get all the plays through the finals. Text your cell phone or email to you. Basketball and football continue to win. Go to FatJackSports.com for less than $99 a week. Start making money at FatJackSports.com.
If you own a business, you're dealing with new economic and market realities almost daily. We understand. We're Core First, and we're an independent, customer-focused bank with a passion for serving Midwest companies like yours. That's why we created Core Express, a loan that's easy to apply for with fast approvals so you can get up to $300,000 for exactly what you need: vehicles, equipment, and real estate. Core Express at Core First. Apply today at corefirstbank.com or stop in branch. Subject to credit approval, member FDIC, equal housing lender.
Central Power Systems and Services is expanding their team at their Riverside location for custom-designed products, specifically their own brand of PowerForce generators. Engine, electrical, and fabrication experience is helpful, but these are trainable skills. Sign-on bonus up to $3,000. Go to cpower.com/careers for details.
Hey, this is SSJ. Come and see me this Friday at the Belt Highway Hy-V in St. Joseph, Missouri. Sign up to win one of the amazing light-up LED Jim Beam cornhole sets and sample all of Jim Beam's premium products. While you're there, grab everything you need for your weekend, including a bottle of Jim Beam bourbon, the official bourbon of your Kansas City Chiefs. This Friday afternoon with Jim Beam at the Belt Highway Hy-V in St. Joseph, Missouri.
Kansas football hosts Big 12 opponent Texas in David Booth Kansas Memorial Stadium on Saturday, November 19th for the final home game of the season and Senior Day. Join in on all the fun with the expanded family zone and entertainment on the hill, including the Game Day on the Hill fan tailgate that includes a tented atmosphere, food, tailgating, games, cash bar, and more. Tickets for the game and fan tailgate are still available. Don't forget the Jayhawks are bowl eligible and bowl game ticket requests are now live. Visit kuathletics.com/tickets or call 800-34-HAWKS.
Crown Toyota has been a part of your community for more than 27 years. We have a history here, and we're ready to help you navigate milestones. 2023 Toyota Tacoma, 4.29% APR for up to 60 months. Excludes TRD Pro. Does not include $399 dealer fees on approved credit. See dealer for details. Offer ends 11/30/22. Experience the Crown difference. Crown Toyota, 3400 South Iowa, Lawrence, Kansas.
The choice of a lawyer is an important decision and should not be based solely upon advertisements.
I'm attorney Mike DePasquale. A winning attitude starts with confidence. My law firm is so confident that if we take your injury case and we don't win, you don't pay us a dime. Call me. I've got this.
816-888-7500. Mike's got this.
My brother-in-law died suddenly, and now my sister and her kids have to sell their home.
That's why I told my husband we could not put off getting life insurance any longer. An agent offered us a 10-year, $500,000 policy for nearly $50 a month. Then we called SelectQuote. SelectQuote found us identical coverage for only $19 a month, a savings of $369 a year.
Whether you need a $500,000 policy or a $5 million policy, SelectQuote could save you more than 50% on term life insurance.
For your free quote, call SelectQuote at 1-800-478-6688. That's 1-800-478-6688. Or go to SelectQuote.com. 1-800-478-6688. That's 1-800-478-6688.
SelectQuote. We shop. You save. Full details on example policies at selectquote.com/commercials.
The Zone with Jason Anderson.
You know, there's a player on the Royals currently that whose final 44 games of 2018 was a 262 batting average, 353 on base, 597 slug, and 950 OPS with 12 home runs, 30 RBIs, another 10 doubles, 2 triples. And that guy's name is Ryan O'Hearn.
I'm going to pretend I heard all those numbers.
Weekdays from 10 to 2 on Sports Radio 810 WHB.
I mean, you hear that now, right? You hear you were just rattling off an absurd amount of numbers.
That was a learning experience for me.
Yeah.
Okay. So we all can learn. We're learning every day. It was a learning experience for me. Now I do only 80% of those numbers in one sitting.
Well, I got the rap that I don't like numbers. Numbers. I like some numbers. I
don't want you to read pi
too much. Right?
I don't just read pi.
I like pi 2 numbers past the decimal, okay?
You know who heard that segment coming back a lot? JJ and John Sherman. They heard that because they're like, is that guy talking about Ryan O'Hearn? He's available right now.
Re-signed.
We can bring him in, which, by the way, it doesn't matter for on the field, but I like Ryan O'Hearn, the person, because he seems to be really fun. And on Twitter...
Did you see what he responded to on Aaron's tweet?
On Twitter, he's pretty fun.
He was fun. So Aaron Ladd over at KSHB41 tweeted out, Royal sign O'Hearn. And then a picture of, I believe it was Brett the Hitman Hart or somebody as he's walking down.
Or he's like Ryan O'Hearn walking back into the clubhouse.
Yeah, and he's just getting pelted with popcorn and spit and crap, and he's just smiling as he's walking down the aisle.
Yes.
And then O'Hearn subtweeted that and wrote to LOL or something like that.
Then he also said, oh, cool, good day to go check Twitter. And then he has the Homer Simpson slowly fading into the bush. Backing up into the bush. Like, that was, it's pretty funny. He's got some of those when he's self-deprecating.
Yeah.
And like, I get
that.
it.
Yeah, and that endears you to a fan base that loves all the ebbs and flows.
And to me, like, it's... What a tie-in. You know what? Let's do it. Let's do it. Since fans love the Ryan O'Hearn player, the person, player. Let's hear Dayton Moore. Talked about this in the first hour, but wanted to talk about it with you as well. The Dayton Moore on the Baseball is Not Boring podcast in Boston says that the fans in Kansas City, they knew what they wanted, and they enjoyed every part of what the Dayton Moore Royals regime was, even the rough patches.
We all want to be consistent over 162 games. We all want consistency. We all strive for that. But we always just tried to build it up and then go for it and put all the chips on the table and go for it. And we knew that's how we had to do it within Kansas City. Now, not every small market is the same, Rob. I mean, every community is different, and I felt like we had a pulse on what the fans of Kansas City and what our fans could tolerate, what they appreciated, and what obviously they ultimately wanted, and that was a World Series championship. But the fans of Kansas City enjoy the ups and downs of the evolution of a minor league or a major league player. They like to follow them, and they don't like to see a lot of change. And where people would say that you've got to be more transactional with your roster and move players, and we never really did that. We stayed committed to our core group, but our fans understood that and liked that and fell in love with them. Now, we had certain people in our fan base and probably our ownership group that didn't like it. I mean, they wanted to be more transactional. That's okay.
Did the fans like the fact that the Royals were not more transactional? They understood. They liked it. They liked it. They don't like to see change there, those Kansas City Royals fans, those, backwards, behind the times, and always late to the party Kansas Cityans in that cow town. They don't like change over there. They want to watch a player be born and then eventually make it to the major leagues.
Yeah, no, I don't. Listen, the overarching philosophy maybe of Midwesterners is like, okay, maybe more resistant to change, but I have the feeling Royals fans, and I think he was trying to pay Royals fans a compliment, but it maybe came across as the hey, felt like we won the World Series, got third place quote, right? I feel like Royals fans would have much rather a brand new roster and 95 wins than, hey, I recognize these guys getting 61 wins.
Yeah.
I feel like all fans
in
this day and age are like that, especially the used to professional sports. It's how it works. How many Chiefs are left over from the Super Bowl?
I may have taken too much offense to that, but it just bothered me as in like, no. They loved the from the minor leagues on. No. You're taking advantage of Royals fans accepting reality of it and knowing what it has to take and doing that and understanding that, and now you're saying that's what they prefer. That's not true.
Daniels in the...
The Zone with Jason Anderson.
I went to BYU, so every down's a throwing down. I mean, that's how that goes.
On Sports Radio 810 WHB.
Andy Reid and Creed Humphrey. Can it be Andy Creed Humphrey?
Ooh.
Is that it before and after?
Cannot.
Andy? No, because it's not Andy Creed.
Oh, come on.
Andy Creed Humphrey.
It can be, okay, Sylvester Stallone, boxing nemesis, Rocky nemesis, and Chief Sinner.
Rocky, Creed, Humphrey, Bogart, all the food.
I hate you.
So it'll be Andy Reid and Creed Humphrey at the podium today. And I know this because Todd texted Andy and Creed scheduled to appear, and then I texted, anybody with Andy today? And then he texted, Creed. And then I texted, yeah, I meant to send that earlier,
right?
And I got there.
Right back. Anybody with Creed today?
I should, yes. But I got to there, and as he texted that, I pressed send on the anybody with Creed because I saw that he said, I'm connected on this, and then I actually read the other part of the text that said Andy with Creed. I'm like, oh, yeah, cool. All right, anybody with Creed today?
Love it.
We'll find out. What
Keep
if he
going.
says,
Keep
you know,
going.
you know what he should say?
Are the Chiefs talking today? Is your next question.
No. What he should say is, yeah, Andy Reid.
Andy Reid. Yeah.
Andy Reid's with Creed today. Okay. Anybody with Andy?
Keep it going.
I hate you. It's Andy and Creed. Anybody with them, though? Shut up. Yeah, he replied. He replied. Just Andy. Anybody with Creed? Yes, Andy. So it's going to be Andy Reid and Creed
Right
Humphrey.
back. So Andy's by himself. This is fun. This could be a new segment.
So just Andy?
Trolling with Todd.
Can Lebo hear any of this at all?
Probably
Beards?
not. He's probably
because he's
chatting it up in the
he's connected right
media
now.
room. Okay.
He's not on a headset or anything.
So he doesn't know that we're messing with him right now. He says, just Andy. So I replied, or he said, it's just Andy today. So just Andy? He goes, yes, and Creed. But
that's what he just wrote back?
Is there anyone
players
with Creed?
What players are talking, though? Want to see? Can you make Todd mad? That's the name of the new segment. Can you make Todd mad?
I don't know.
When Twitter goes away, this is what we'll do to troll.
I don't know. Curtis is on this text thread too. I'm sorry, Curtis.
I don't know if anybody else is having any fun, but you and I are having a blast right now. I know Todd probably isn't.
What was your
fun.
last message?
So it's gone this way. Yeah. Anybody with Andy? He goes, yeah, Creed. Okay, anybody with Creed today? Just Andy. So just Andy today. Yes, and Creed. But is there anyone with Creed? Nothing yet. Are you going to text Todd?
Shit.
Who's talking today, Todd?
Yeah.
All right, 913-912-4810 is the text line.
Are the Chiefs talking today, Todd? He deserves this because OU's going to win Bedlam tomorrow.
Oh, Todd says there's a whole bunch of people I don't recognize in the room. Okay. Well, that's a real answer. Well, so it's done. That's, you know what that is? That's the equivalent.
Screw it up, Todd.
That's the equivalent of you and your friend talking and then somebody just putting a like on one of the responses. It's kind of the unofficial. We're done talking.
Yeah.
Unofficial. I liked that response, but there's no like bubble or dots or anything. All right, time to go do something else that I was doing because we're done talking. Not that I ever do that. No, I'm not sure. So
I'm not a liker on texts. I don't do the reply to other texts, right? You can go and reply to texts that are 3 or 4, whatever messages up. I don't do that. I don't like. I don't thumbs up. I don't exclamation point of text. If I want to write something, I write it back.
I do a lot of the likes, the ha-has, the...
I would hate texting with you. I'm never going to text with you again.
You probably already hate texting with me. Except for last night, knocking out of the park. Your
before and afters.
Text says, ask Todd how you can talk with Creed. Is that sarcasm? I think he's saying that Creed doesn't
Todd
really
said,
give
of course they are, when I asked him, are the Chiefs talking today, Todd? Okay, what time?
Oh, man, we are children. We are children. I don't care what anybody says. We are children. All right.
We're getting to the point where Todd's just not going to tell us when Andy walks up.
Yes. All right. Let's get into some other things as we wait for Andy Reid. So we were expecting Andy Reid at 1 o'clock. It's not happening right now.
Well, the fast part is once he gets there, it's fast. He doesn't
typically it's
get there fast.
At 1 or like 1:02:20, and now it's 1:04. So Chiefs get ready for the Chargers this weekend, and looking for an update to see on Mike Williams and Keenan Allen. But I kind of expect both of those guys to play, and I'm in an odd spot to where I'm actually wanting them to play. I don't know why I want them to play, but I just do. I may feel real dumb on Monday if we come on the show at 10 o'clock and the Chiefs lose the game to the Chargers and Mike Williams and Keenan Allen have career games, and it's like, hey, nice job, jackass. Really? Remember when you said you wanted them to play just to kind of see how it would look? Yeah, but I also kind of want to see an actual test for the secondary, because what test have they had with the guys being healthy? Stephon Diggs and Gabe Davis certainly was a test, but no Trent McDuffie in there. And so Josh Williams got beat. Josh Williams got beat in that one. Devontae Adams got him on a play. But, like, if you've got multiple guys out there with this now secondary that is healthy, that this is the secondary you're looking at, let's see what Trent McDuffie looks like. And if they go up against Mike Williams and Keenan Allen and a quarterback that you know can make all the throws, I'd like to see what it looks like, just because I don't think the Chargers are going to be able to score with the Chiefs, because I think that Chargers defense is
rough,
pretty suspect.
Pretty banged up. Yep.
Yeah. And so there are some issues there that I think the Chiefs, like if the Chiefs, I said this with Kendall Gammon, it would be more of an issue if the Chiefs can't establish the run game this weekend than against the Titans, because you should be able to just.
They're giving up like 5.5 yards a rush or something like that.
Yeah. And they lost 2 other guys against the 49ers.
If you're the Chiefs, you'd be like, hey, we'll take 3.8, okay? Settle out of court for 3.8.
Casey Prenner said you take 3 every time, and then you set up 3rd and 1. What's that, Casey? I mean,
Is there a penalty in there?
We're good with 3 yards per carry, because you get 3 yards per carry, you're setting up 3rd and 1. I don't think you're doing it right. Is that the Canadian Football League rules?
Exactly. So that's why you were cut. Okay.
Yes. Tex says, I'd like to see Dana say hi to the ribs again on Justin Herbert. Yeah, I'm good with that. It was really Dana's helmet that said hi to the ribs, but either way.
Oh, I fully anticipate this being a game, right? I mean, I'm not just looking at records and, trends and everything. First of all, it's the Chiefs, and almost every game's a game. And then, yeah, I think the Chargers still have a pulse, and I think they are all in on this game. I think they were rushing Allen back. I think they're rushing Williams back, even if they're not ready. It's like, okay, this is our only chance here. It's over. It's basically a 4-game deficit with 7 to play, right? To try to catch the Chiefs. That's not happening. I mean, even if they win, it's probably not happening. But this is our best shot at not only winning the division, but maybe the playoffs at this point.
I'm looking at who they play. So they go to Arizona after that, go to Vegas, then they play Miami and Tennessee at home. Like, again, they would essentially have to go, if they lose this game, they got 7 games left. They'd have to go 5-2 and hope the Chiefs go
2-5, or
no,
would that be?
1-6.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't even know what it would be, but they'd win out. Chargers, win out, because the Chiefs are going to win a number of games.
They
the rest
basically
of the way as well.
lose out, and the Chiefs basically win out, and then the Chiefs basically lose out.
I think it was Matt Derrick that said, if the Chiefs win, well, I'll tell you that after Andy Reid.
You will be listed as out, as will Chris Lamons. Everybody else is up and ready to go. We look forward to the challenge of playing the Chargers. We know they're a good football team, and guys have had a good week of practice. So again, we look forward to that opportunity going out there and playing. That time's yours.
Maybe Frank Clark going to be activated and play on Sunday?
Yeah, pretty good chance on that.
For Cole Hardman being placed on injured reserve, how much do you anticipate this being a short-term absence, or is considered season-ending?
No, I think it'll probably end up being short-term, but we'll just see how he feels going down the road here. But right now, I'd probably tell you short term.
You mentioned it was an illness with Hardman. Is there any further clarification?
Yeah, I don't have anything for you there. Just got to get through this part.
You guys have done a nice job always of being able to make up for absences in that receiving core. It should be a nice opportunity for Sky to maybe get more involved, and what you've seen from Tony should go as well, right?
Yeah, you'll probably see the same type of rotation as we had last week. It'll be similar to that. So having those guys in the second half there, that's probably what you see. Yeah, it's good for those guys, though. Absolutely.
Were they, in terms of concussion protocol, were they like close on the list, or?
Yeah, no, they're both are a little different, but they are close. We'll just see how they do this next week as we go through it. You never can tell on those things.
Okay.
All right, is that the last of those questions? All right, I'm kind of fired up about this next one. It's a little bit outside my box, but I enjoy their music for sure. A couple Rock and Roll Hall of Famers are going to be here in Kansas City next summer, and Billy Joel and Stevie Nicks. So you got, I've had a chance to listen to Billy. Actually, I had a chance to meet he and Elton John at one time, and quite an experience. Nice guy, and what a great legendary singer. As is Stevie, she's phenomenal. Could still belt it out, man. That's kind of from my era, and love all their songs. So, but they'll take the stage at GEH Field at Arrowhead on Saturday, August 19th. That's 2023. I don't have all the details, but those will be coming. But anyways, listen, I'm pumped up for them to be here, and I know our people here in Kansas City will be fired up too. It's be a great venue. So, anyways.
Andy, did Stevie or Nikki ever come through the Tonight Show when you were working there?
No, that was after I graduated from that. By the time they.
Good. Thanks, guys.
All right. Yeah.
All right, so Todd had said that the room was weird. There were a lot of different people in there. It was an odd sort of setup, and did not know there was going to be anything like that. And
so he broke that news? Andy Reid,
I guess.
Broke music concert coming to KC News?
Billy Joel, and well, without Twitter, this is how we're going to have to get breaking news now, is to ask Andy Reid to break the news. Andy, did you hear anything going on with the Pittsburgh Pirates? Can you weigh in on that? But Stevie Nicks and Billy Joel, August 19th of 2023. So there you go.
Wow.
That's why the room was an odd mixture, a collection of people that were there that Todd did not recognize, along with Creed Humphrey and nobody else talking, except for Creed Humphrey and Andy Reid. So, Todd just texted, said, I knew something weird was up. So there you go. Because he was like, well, are we done with that? By the way, Juju and Chris Lamont's out. So if you didn't hear that, Juju Smith-Schuster and Lamons are both out this weekend.
Lamons. GEH.
I know. Lamons and GEH. GEH Field. Yeah. Field. The concussion, though, he said they're both in different positions, but they're both close. Just have to see how next week goes, but both of them are sort of close. And did clarify. It was a good question by Herbie because I hadn't even thought about hey, you put them on IR. Is this kind of a short-term thing, or could this be season ending? And he was like, right now it's a short-term thing. So, which again is, I don't know. Abdominal illness, and that question was asked, and Andy was like, I can't give you anything else. There you go. That's what you got. I told you what I'm going to tell you. All right, you've got the information you got, and that's all there's going to be. So, and which is totally fine. Mm-hmm. But yeah, so it was odd when he's like, enough of those questions. I thought that was it. I'm getting ready to all right, there's Andy Reid, just injuries, and I'm really looking forward to this. What are they doing? What are they announcing? Are they moving downtown?
And so these are separate concerts, right?
Yeah, the Chiefs will play the Chargers this weekend, and the concert will be separate than the Chiefs and Chargers on Sunday. No, I think it's
Billy Joel and Stevie Nicks on the same concert?
No, they're touring together.
Oh, okay.
I know this because I Googled it immediately after it said Billy Joel.
Stevie's opening for Billy, I'm guessing?
It says Billy Joel and Stevie Nicks. August 5th, 2023 in Columbus, Ohio. Well, I'm assuming that they're going to be somewhere 14 days after that.
It's going to be a landslide.
Is it going to bring you down? They're going to bring you down?
Mm-hmm. She has probably the third best version of Landslide.
Really?
Dixie Chicks knocked that one out of the park.
Yeah.
But so did Smashing Pumpkins.
Yeah. So there you go, August 19th. You heard it here first, folks.
Andy Reid.
Everybody that has been waiting and clamoring and sending in letters to the Chiefs constantly about Billy Joel and Stevie Nicks.
He's the Adam Schefter of music news.
That's right. So is this how Arrowhead Stadium is going to start announcing concerts? It was just like random players. Like, hey, by the way, Isaiah Pacheco, when you're up there, we also need you to announce that
Pearl Jam's coming.
Guns N' Roses are it's a reunion. They're heading back here. So if you can just let them know that's at the end, just talk about like your favorite songs and albums and everything.
Like, Travis, I know you set a record with 5 touchdown catches today. Yes. Okay, but can you work in that Maroon 5 will be hitting T-Mobile Center?
Yeah. That, hey, Joka.
I guess it would be Arrowhead, right? It would always be Arrowhead.
Hey, Joka. Kadarius Toney. Can you let the people know that you are actually performing in concert coming up in a year from now? You'll be opening up. So just let the people know that that's the case. Really?
Imagine,
no, we're just messing with you. Gotcha.
Can you imagine Spags doing something like that? Like, I don't know. It's morning or afternoon, whatever. But I've got. I'm supposed to say this. This guy, Machine Gun Kelly. It's a band or a guy. It's a guy. It's a guy, I guess. And he's going to be here. He's going to be belting out his tunes, playing his instruments, and it's going to be a good time.
I heard he's good with the horns. Love it. Machine Gun Kelly is coming.
I'm more of a Rat Pack. I'm a Sinatra guy myself, but I'm sure he does good music.
And I'll say this: when Post Malone comes, at the end of the day, when it's all said and done, that's a hell of a concert, a heck of a performer.
Yeah, I mean JoJo Siwa. I mean, I've always liked O-Town.
I don't know why I went there.
No, I went to JoJo Siwa.
It's unbelievable.
No, I do know. I've been watching Dance Moms.
I mean, yeah, my wife loves Ed Sheeran, and with him coming to town and everything, it's gonna be great. I'm here. I'll be there.
I'm
here for that one. I'm here for that one.
You hear that Kelsey can't do the voice with Mahomes. That Kelsey apparently that's one of the things he did when Mahomes was a rookie. Is that Kelsey would make fun of him?
Yeah,
because he would say that every once in a while he'd be in team meetings and he would speak up. He's like,
"Oh yeah, I'm with the player with the guy over there," and
Kelsey would just start mocking him.
Supposedly Andy would too, but Andy would never do the impression in front of people.
Well, no, he draws mustaches on people when they're sleeping.
Yes.
This is
get to the bottom of that.
Widely, that's my favorite part. I'm going to get to the bottom of this.
Throws the Sharpie.
I'm going to get to the
He
bottom of
does
this.
really good job acting.
I think he did a good job on the. I'm going to get to the bottom of this part of
He's
it.
better than Mahomes and Jake, I think, at acting.
Whoa, Jake's an actual actor. That's what he does
I think
for a
he's very
living.
good.
That's what he does for a living, man.
Yeah.
I do.
Thank goodness he's got that part.
My favorite Mahomes line in those was when he talks about the jazz bath or whatever.
That's really good.
And he was like, "You don't have to tell me that." And the guy shows up with the time for your jazz bath, and he's like, "Who's that guy?"
Mahomes has gotten better with his
every
acting
time
skills.
he says, "Who's that guy?" It makes me laugh. I don't know why, but every single time it makes me laugh.
He's no Baker or Peyton, but he's getting better.
Baker is so good.
I just hope his career lasts to get him in some more Heisman House commercials or progressive commercials, whatever.
I mean, those I enjoyed the commercials of him living there at the stadium.
When he's looking at Pistol Pete and says, "Man, I can't read this guy." It's so natural.
It's so good when he's got the book club there. They're at the stadium sitting in the I mean, she is. I don't understand her, but she's a good egg, though.
Good egg, though.
She is. Yeah, that's right. He's really good, man.
She pulled her kids out of soccer again.
Oh, unbelievable. But she's a good egg, though. All right, so Stevie Nicks and Billy Joel heading to Arrowhead on August 19th.
That's August 19th. Okay.
You getting tickets? Are they on sale right now?
I don't like
tickets for less.
Concerts are the opposite of Nebraska Furniture Mart. I like Nebraska Furniture Mart. I can get it now and I can pay later. I don't like to pay now and get it way later, which is how concerts work. So
yeah,
I might weasel my way into a suite. I've been known to do that. I know some people. I've lived here a long time. I do the sports.
That's right. You know who's going to be in a suite at SoFi Stadium watching the Chiefs and Chargers?
Aaron Ladd. Well, that press box, I guess.
Henry Winkler.
Oh, that's right.
Mahomes got him a suite.
A suite?
Mahomes got him a suite, so Henry Winkler.
You know what they have? I wonder if it's going to be up.
Brittany won't be there because she's not traveling because she's pregnant.
Yeah.
So I don't know if other parts of I don't know if his mom will be there or whatever. But the suite that Henry Winkler is in is one that Mahomes got.
So and they probably showed it on broadcast, but I've never seen it at any other stadium. They have these suites that are ground level.
Oh, yeah.
Almost
they
below
do.
ground level.
Yeah.
Think of dugout suites right at the K.
Only with 50 people in front of you.
And wrapped all the way around the stadium, only with like 50 people at crotch level in front of you or more. The only way, the end zone ones are the only ones where you can see, pretty much. But even then, there's personnel, there's security, there's people running in front of you. You're basically there just to say, yeah, I looked at Kelsey's crotch the whole game.
I heard him talking.
I
was able to experience
down there.
that.
And look, there's a big old, there's sofas in there. There's a big bar. There's big TV so you can see the game.
Mm-hmm.
You're just kind of there to say you were there because you ain't watching it live.
I'm going to guess that Henry and his family are going to be an actual suite.
Yeah.
Suite, not like field level.
And with that crazy kind of wraparound crowned scoreboard they have just kind of floating up there, you can see the action from anywhere. It's amazing. It's such a cool venue.
It depends on what they do, though, because it depends on how they do replays there. Because when they held the Final Four in the national championship down in Jerry World,
I watched the board the whole game from the press box.
But they kept showing these replays that were taking so long. Like, they weren't replays on TV. They were replays on the board. And they would show a replay of a score, and it would come back, and then another score had already happened. And I'm like, well, I would love to watch the board, but I don't know when you're going to show me a replay, and then I have to look down and see the ants running around. Speaking of which, here's Creed, who's going to announce Creed.
Creed, midway through your second season, just how are you feeling, and how do you think the offensive line is performing right now as you guys hit the home stretch here?
Yeah, I feel like we're getting better throughout the weeks. There's definitely things to clean up still. But, I feel like we're heading in the right direction for sure. Heading into this stretch of really important games, I feel like we're making the right steps in the run game, in the pass game, different things like that. So I'm excited where we are right now.
When you pop on the tape of the Chargers over the last couple of games, obviously they've been without Joey Bosa. What stands out to you, how they've been able to compensate for not having them there?
Yeah, they have really good depth across that D-line. They've dealt with some injuries, but they have some, very talented players that are still, playing. So they present a really good challenge for us this week, and, we're excited about it. So it'll be a fun game for sure. But they're very talented up front still. They got a ton of great players, in that front seven, so it's going to be a challenging game.
The two games against them last year came down to the end. The one this year was a close game. Something about that rivalry, something about the Chiefs and Chargers, you can put your finger on why you guys just seem to go to the wire every time?
Yeah, I think it's just, you have two very talented football teams. Whenever that happens, you're going to have close games. So, they're a very, very talented team, and so are we. We're both playing with Super Bowl dreams, So, you get games like that, everybody's bringing their A game, and it's going to make for exciting games.
Anyone else?
What do you make of how Prince has been able to step in and contribute along the line?
Yeah, Prince has been awesome. It's a good thing that we have him. We have good depth, across the line. He stepped in and did a great job for us this past game. So just seeing him grow each week and everything, it's been awesome to see. He's been doing a heck of a job for us, so I'm excited for him.
Anyone else? Thank you. Thanks, Creed.
Yep.
All right, there's Creed, and you know what? If Prince was still alive, you know who Prince Tega Winoga would introduce?
Oh, yeah.
Tupac.
Yep. Michael Jackson.
Does Creed introduce Nickelback? If Nickelback comes there, do they have to get Creed to introduce and say, well, we're so excited about Nickelback?
No, you get, would it be Jalen Watson? Who's the Chiefs Nickelback? Who would it be?
It's Josh Williams. Jalen Watson. They do it together because sometimes it's him.
Yeah.
I don't know. We kind of go back and forth. I don't know. It's fun sometimes. That's right. The actual Nickelback will introduce Nickelback. Creed introduces Creed. All right, so there you go. The big news: Juju is out. Lamons is out. McCole is not a season-ender IR. It's more of a short term, but they went ahead and put him on IR. I'm assuming that's more of the 53-man roster type deal. That hey,
well,
you
it
might
works
be
that
out.
Frank's coming back, right?
Right.
Has he? I don't know. Has he been activated yet? Okay,
Yep, he's good. So it might be more of a you might be out a couple, 3 more weeks, but for figuring some things out on our roster wise, we're going to put you on the IR. But Andy thinks it's more short term, and that Juju and Lamons, while in different places in concussion protocol, he said they're both close. And depending on next week, how it goes, but always something you never can judge or predict with that. So that's the main news. And then Creed thinks Prince is doing fine. And they've got a lot of depth on that line with the Chargers, which is why I liked the text earlier that said, Todd said talking with Creed. Is that really going to happen? Like, is anybody going to really talk with Creed? Because he's very good at being.
I texted Todd.
Yeah.
Are the Chiefs talking today, Todd?
Todd.
Of course they are, he said.
Did he answer Margot?
I said, okay, what time? He said, your guess is as good as mine. I said, what will they be talking about? He said, the challenge of facing the Chargers.
That's a good, that's the answer.
And I said, Mahomes and Kelsey and Hardman talking, I assume. He said exactly, and that was the end.
Because he probably knew at that point.
He's like, I'm messing with him. Yeah.
You're like, all right, this is Mick. I know that. I know he knows that Mahomes is not talking today. All right, we'll take a timeout. We'll come back. We'll continue rolling. Discuss a couple of other things with the matchup coming up this weekend. We'll get you what's on tap, and of course the cuts before the show is over, and the much anticipated predictions from everybody. Because everybody's just waiting to see where they're going to place their money. See, take the under, because Beard says guaranteed under. We'll take a timeout. More Zone next.
Follow the show on Twitter at J810Anderson, at JB Briscoe, at Beards McFly, and at Sports Radio 810. The Zone with Jason Anderson.
Let's go to Mick Shaffer. Go ahead, Mick. There you go, Mick. Mick, you got us? All right, we're going to come back to you, Mick. Let's go to Karen. Go ahead, Karen. All right.
Hi, Coach.
On Sports Radio 810.
Jackass 8-10 guys are rolling on it. I don't want to give him 2 bump backs.
All right, we continue right here on Sports Radio 810 WHB. Jason Anderson with you. Mick Shaffer. Beards. Yeah. He's KSHB 41 sports director. Mick is, not Beards. Not yet, at least.
Wanna be?
Not yet. He's coming for that job. 5:30 today, pregame for KU taking on Southern Utah.
Yeah.
They are 21.5-point favorites tonight. 7 o'clock ESPN Plus. But right here on Sports Radio 810 as well. 7 o'clock when that tip, 9 o'clock postgame. And then on ESPN Kansas City is going to be Mill Valley versus Blue Valley Southwest.
Oh, really?
Game of the week.
Nice.
Yeah, the semifinal.
We have it's our game of the week, KSHB 41.
Oh, random. Do you get to choose those?
I do. It was basically the only one because Spectrum's doing Bishop Miege and Aquinas. Okay. Got a holy war in 4A at Bishop Miege. And then Gardner and Olathe and Northwest, we had just done a Gardner game, made it our game of the week. And then the Missouri game tonight is Lee Summit North at DeSmet. So it's at DeSmet. We're going to have to get, obviously, highlights from St. Louis. We can't go there.
Yeah.
And then there was Fort Osage. It basically came down to Fort Osage or Mill Valley because Grain Valley goes to Fort Osage. And we'd recently done, I think, a Fort Osage game. So we just gave it to Mill Valley. There's a lot of games tomorrow. A lot of quarterfinal games in Missouri tomorrow as well.
So we got the our game of the week tonight is also Mill Valley. But KU in action tonight, 5:30 pregame right here on Sports Radio 810 WHB. Travis Kelce in a podcast. We didn't play this yesterday. I wanted to. But, we only have 4 hours a day, Mick. How do you possibly fit in all the things we want to talk about in only 4 hours? I mean, it goes so fast. I can't believe it's already 1:30. As the listeners would say, I can't believe it's only 1:30.
What would you do if you had 2 minutes, like me? You did sports. You did TV sports. You just sigh and throw your hands up for 2 minutes. I don't have time to talk. I can't get into anything.
I don't even know what's the point? I would just think, what's the point? I don't care.
What's the point of this?
Gary, why don't you?
What are we doing here?
Gary, why don't you just do it?
Do some more weather.
Do that too.
Mix in some pics of your dogs.
Mix in some sports with the weather. Just say, do the weather and then talk about these highlights while doing the weather at the same time.
Can I tease something here?
Yes, please. Go ahead.
Coming up very soon before his retirement, Gary's going to do something he's always wanted to do, which is anchor a sportscast.
Does he know this?
Yes.
Okay. That'll be fun.
No, absolutely.
That'll be fun. Who's? I guess you already said it with Aaron. So Aaron's heading to L.A.
Yeah, leaves tomorrow.
Good for him. Nice weather. So you're not just going to hang out at Arrowhead Stadium and in the cold just for S's and G's, to put up a desk there?
We're not going to have our desk there. No, we'll do it. We have a studio. We're going to be indoors at a studio.
Shoot.
I think it's going to be a high of 75 on Sunday.
Yeah, it's going to get nice.
Maybe a little cooler. It's a weird, it's an indoor-outdoor stadium, right? Because the sides are open. Top's closed, sides open.
Yeah. So we'll see. Here's Travis Kelce, and this was a funny clip. It wasn't anything where he's breaking down what happens in the middle of a play, but they're talking about who the next guest is going to be for their podcast. Who's the next guy they want to get on the podcast?
Who should we get next, you think? I think there's one person everybody wants. It just, are you man enough to ask, really, is what it comes down to.
No. I am. Yeah, I'm going to ask. I'm going to ask him. I think I've asked already. I kind of like hinted at it. I was like, hey, Pat, do you like the show? He said, yeah. So it's like, yeah, come on.
Well, you got to do it in the Pat voice.
No, I'm not doing it in the Pat voice.
That's
not how you get Pat on. That's not how you get Pat on.
Oh, okay. That makes sense.
That was like the one thing I did his rookie year. Like, there's no hazing in Coach Reid's like locker rooms. Like, there's no like, oh, the rookie's got to do this. Like, you get like seniority and like taping lines and like stuff like that. You know what I mean? Or like hotel rooms.
Sure.
But you don't get like, the rookies don't have to do stuff. You know what I mean? It's not expected. But the one thing I just made fun of Pat was every single time he spoke up in like a meeting or anything like that, I would just.
She's just a bully. So this
no.
Come on. You're just a big bully.
What? It's my guy. It's one of my best friends. I just gotta, right time, right place, baby.
I was talking to Jalen after the episode launched, and he said, "Who you guys getting next?" And I was like, I think probably try and get Pat. He's like, y'all should definitely do Pat. So Jalen's on the Pat train too. So
nice, man.
Let's make it happen.
Jaylen. Let's make it happen. You heard
Some
it here, Pat.
Other names being thrown out. Andy Reid. God, that would be awesome.
That'd be sweet, man. It's a tough ask.
It's an intimidating man.
It's a tough ask. I don't know. That's the one where I'm like, what do I go? Hey, coach.
Hey, just ask. You just ask.
I'm not a good asker, man.
It's like when you asked, whoever you asked the middle school dance in, 8th grade. You just go up and worst that can happen is they say no, right?
Yeah, and you go to the dance alone.
Yeah. And Andy's the Great White Buffalo. It's you got to go up there. You got to go.
The Great White Walrus. The Great White Walrus.
If you need me to, I will text him so that you don't have to ask.
That would make it a lot easier.
If you are not
get the bug in,
you are not man enough to go up and ask him yourself.
The guy's busy, Jason.
So a couple things there, just in the enjoyment and fun of that whole thing. But Andy is so respected by the players. They wanted to win the Super Bowl for him. They talk about what a great relationship they have. You want to ask him to come on the podcast? Oh, no. You want me to ask him? No, that's
you think
intimidating.
Even Travis has to go through Chiefs PR to get Andy?
He's got to ask Brad G.
Yeah.
Say, Brad.
No, I'm sorry, Travis. We don't have time.
Well, doggone it,
Love to help you out, but
doggone it, Kels. I don't know. That's it's just I don't know. Doggone it. Well, I can try. But no, Andy, I'm not asking it. It's intimidating. Hey, Coach, you come on my podcast, please. He's making fun of Mahomes.
All he has to do is just say in the voice.
That's it. Because you can see, like, in the middle of a meeting, Mahomes going,
obviously,
oh my gosh. I think if Patrick got him to do a commercial, which is a big, heavy lift,
Andy Reid,
Travis could get Andy on a podcast, which can be done remotely.
That's exactly right. Yeah, absolutely. But I did like that there's a little peek into the window there of the voice with Mahomes that it would make sense that he's not a big fan of maybe people making fun of him or doing an impression of him. Because as Travis no, that's not how you get Patrick. You're not gonna, because Jason said maybe do the voice. Like, oh no, that's not how you get Patrick. You're not gonna do the voice. You're gonna piss him off. So I'm not gonna ask him in his voice. And if we get him on the air, we're not gonna do the voice.
The next evolution of the State Farm ads hasn't included Kermit the Frog.
That's probably right. It's probably right. They haven't mentioned the voice or anything like that. That may be it's in the contract. Okay,
rookie year, he's a backup quarterback. Sure, he's a first-round pick. But he's a backup quarterback.
So you're razzing him a little bit. You're just having fun with him.
Now who's now
one of your best friends.
The NFL. And I thought Brandon Staley, had some great points about Mahomes. He's like, we treat him like he's this veteran. He's like, he's still so new to the NFL. he's still learning so much. He's still so new to this league, and that's the scary part. He said
he's the face of the NFL. He's the face of the league. He's the best player in the league. It's amazing that in this position that the Chiefs are, and going up against a guy who's pretty good in his own right, in Justin Herbert. But it's like every time the Chiefs take the field, as long as Mahomes is healthy, they're going to have the better quarterback.
If this was Terry Bradshaw, he would be still like a few years away from being good, right?
If it's like anybody like in the 80s or 90s, like you're like,
well, I mean, year 5, you're a couple years away.
You're going to ruin him
from kind of learning the ropes.
You want the guy to play in year 3? Like, you're going to ruin the guy. You want to throw him into the fire in year 3.
You're going to put a 25-year-old out there?
He's playing against grown men. All right, there are 36-year-olds over there that are trying to attack him.
They're 11 years older than him, okay? Do you realize that when he was a senior in high school, that quarterback would have been like, I don't know, like a first grader?
That quarterback over there is 38. Okay, you're putting a 25-year-old in. That's 13 years of a difference in where their advantage is.
Yes.
You can't overcome 13 years of an advantage. They're 13 years ahead of you. It's just dumb. It's never going to work out. It's a bad idea. But yeah, it's a good point. I didn't hear Brandon Staley this week weighing in on that, other than them talking a little bit about Keenan Allen, and that Keenan Allen may be more of a stretch than Mike Williams to play this weekend. I think they're both going to play.
I don't remember a Chiefs-Chargers game where Keenan Allen wasn't hurt during it.
Or got hurt in it.
Or right before it. I mean, there's always an injury around him.
Because there was the game he was going to go for 300 yards when he tore his ACL.
Yes, that one.
They could not guard him. There was zero chance of the Chiefs being able to guard that man that day. And unfortunately, I don't want injuries to happen, but because I think he was on my fantasy team that year, so that was the main thing.
That's the biggest thing here.
Really, the most unfortunate part, And it's like Juju's not playing this weekend. It's like, okay, he's on my fantasy. I just traded for him, so I do want to apologize to Juju. I did just trade for him, and then he got the concussion. That's my fault. It's my fault. Sorry about that.
That's why I'm putting a lot of money on Oklahoma to win Saturday.
Really?
Because I don't win bets.
You are going with Oklahoma. Bedlam 6:30 ABC. You're going with that?
Yeah, what's it? Still a 7-ish point spread, something like that?
I haven't looked at it today.
OU's favorite.
So I did not look at it today. But I can tell you what's on tap this weekend. What's on tap tonight, a little college basketball activity with KU and Southern Utah. That is tonight at 7 o'clock. We mentioned that right here on Sports Radio 810 WHB 5:30 tip, or 5:30 pregame for that 7 o'clock tip. We've got the high school game of the week, Mill Valley versus Blue Valley Southwest, coming up on ESPN KC. College football this weekend. It is the Missouri Tigers at 6:30 taking on
who do they have?
Mississippi Valley State. Or no, that's basketball. They're taking on New Mexico State. New Mexico State this weekend, they are 29-point favorites.
Oh, yeah, okay. Football, yeah.
That's at 6:30. KU and Texas, still 9. That line hasn't moved all week. That's at 2:30 at FS1. And then Kansas State, West Virginia. That's still sitting at 7.5 as well, 1 o'clock on ESPN+.
Texas line is based on there's a lot of people who bet Texas.
Absolutely. But I'm just surprised.
Just like last week when it was 7.5 against TCU.
I think this is the first time all week from a Monday through or all year from a Monday through a Friday that even one of the games didn't change even a half point. But both KU and K-State, neither of them have changed.
We got a better feel for these teams.
That's exactly right.
Missouri, by we, I mean Vegas.
Missouri went up a half point, 28.5 to 29. But also college football coming up this weekend as well. USC and UCLA, a big one out west, 7 o'clock on Fox, followed by Utah and Oregon, a big one as well. You're talking about 4 teams in the top 15 in the Pac-12, 9:30 on Fox. Bedlam, Oklahoma State, OU 6:30 ABC. College basketball tonight, KU. Missouri plays Sunday. Baylor and Virginia tonight at 6 o'clock on ESPN2. That's a fun one. UCLA, Illinois. 8:30, that's a fun one. And then Sunday at 6:30, you can either watch the Chiefs game or Kentucky at Gonzaga.
Oh, wow.
6:30, so that's a good one as
Zags
well.
just came to Texas, right?
Zags played Michigan State, then Texas, then they're playing Kentucky. They got to get their games in the non-conference.
If they jump to the Big 12, they would have to do that.
They got to get their games in the non-conference.
Jump to the Big 12, Zags.
Yep, absolutely.
That's weird.
What's on tap? It is presented by KC Beer Company. The fun time of the year. It is here. Special time deserves a special beer. Grab Kansas City's favorite lager, Dunkel, a rich, smooth, Munich-style brown lager. Go to kcbeer.com. Discover all of their award-winning brands. That's kcbeer.com, kcbier.com.
Take the show with you by listening live on 810WHB.com, in the 810 mobile app, or by subscribing to The Zone wherever you get your podcasts. The Zone with Jason Anderson.
Lunch provided by the Wiener Wagon today, so I'm looking forward to that. 11 to 1.
Surrounded by tools and wieners.
That's exactly right. You know what? That's a dream.
Weekdays from 10 to 2 on Sports Radio 810 WHB.
I don't know why. Your guess is as good as mine. I'm not sure. Not sure. All right, wrapping things up here on this Friday edition of The Zone. Let's go ahead and get into the cuts, Beards. Take it away.
Coach, you may be aware you are top 5 in a poll of the most handsome coaches in the NFL.
That's what I'm talking about.
Do they underrate you?
I was wondering why I wasn't first.
Should have been. It's BS. It's BS. Should have been first.
Who said that's what I'm talking about? Who was that?
It's got to be Andy's guy.
Ted?
Ted. Yes. It's got to be Ted. Not Brad. Ted.
You look like more of a man with a quarter-pounder in your hand.
Yes, I love a couple carryovers. I like it. Keep rolling. What's a bit? What?
There we go. I didn't have stuff cut from last week, so I threw a couple things in
I like
there.
it.
I prefer natural grass.
I was waiting for more to go with that, but
that's it.
Yep, I know what he's talking about there. Totally weed.
Situation with Tyreek Hill, and it's not like Travis Kelce is done. My dog is very excited about this, just so you know.
She her dog sometimes gets involved in the interviews.
Was that Cynthia?
Yep, Cynthia. Okay. Yep, her dog's very excited about it. Rescue dog. How about that?
Mick, you want to iron fist me with a Greek club too?
I would love to iron fist. That was good.
All right, thank you. And why does the paper have to go over, ladies, and not under? Over's better. Over's better. Guys don't care, right? I care.
Over. Oh, God. Over is the correct answer.
What prompted that, by the way?
Over is the correct answer.
It's yes, absolutely. It's obvious.
It's not debatable.
Give me a break. Yeah.
I don't know what
kind of
Dave
serial
Merritt was,
killer are you if you do under?
What are you doing, Dave? Like he was talking about something about communication or working with somebody or being whatever, and he's like, and I still got to remember to put the toilet seat down in the bathroom all the time. With the, my wife always gets mad at me, and then that's when he's doing the hey toilet. Why do you have to go over with the under? It's like guys don't care. Yeah, we do. Don't speak for me, Dayton.
Over. And
over.
By the way,
It's not even
the whole toilet seat up or down thing is a joke that women go far too overboard on.
I disagree.
No, they shouldn't. I mean, that's what that's what I do. Why should I have to get it ready for you?
It's just
you don't get it ready for me.
Well, it should be closed regardless, all the time. Lid and everything. Yeah. Seat, lid, always closed.
I got a dog that does not want that to happen.
That's why you close it. Keep going.
I was one of those TV people. I was out there doing a man on the street. Oh boy, I deserve that.
Odd TV person. Is that typical? Is that standard? Is that how you got the job?
That's it.
I was wondering what took place.
Whatever means possible.
All right. That'll do it. Mick, appreciate it, man. As always, good week. Well done.
Good week. Let's do it again.
We should.
Next week without Josh. Can we do that?
For a couple days only, but not the whole week. I refuse. Not going to do it. Program next.
Come by the Kansas City Barbecue.